Perfect.
Time to send it.
Send it. Secret cheers, dude. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 115 of the Live Beyond Average podcast with my co-host, Dustin Luebke, in the house, straight out of work.
Yeah.
What is up, dude?
Not much. Just trying to get caught up on sleep and getting the legs a little less sore now from the trip.
It was fun watching you out. We got back from New Mexico recently. It was fun being out there with you, man, on your first time. Obviously, it's kind of been my second home over the last few years, so it was really fun to take you down, be with you down there. And you actually did another hunt without me.
Yes.
As well. But it was fun being able to share that experience with you, dude, and having a friend down there. I have a lot of friends up here that you come back and you tell the stories to, and so it was cool to have somebody actually experience it with you.
I was one of those guys that, when you're like, oh yeah, we do this and we do this, I'm like, cool. And then you're excited for them.
Yeah.
You want to hear the story. I love hearing hunting stories.
Right.
Telling hunting stories. But at the same time, once you experience it, all that stuff, you start putting that together, and it's like, man, that was awesome. That was a great experience.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people this all the time, dude, and not just with these hunting stories, but with life in general, quit talking about stuff sometime at some point, and quit saying oh, I need to apply for this, or I need to put in at some point, you just go freaking do it.
Yeah.
And I think this sheep hunt is one of those where I get a little that way, because I get a lot of messages every year. I've done this hunt 3 times, and so I get a lot of messages about it, or about the New Mexico stuff in general.
Yeah.
And I'm pumped that I get a lot of messages about it, but a lot of those people never go and do something about it. You know what I mean? Just go put in. Go put $373 on your credit card for the sheep hunt, if that's what you truly want to do. If you don't draw, you're getting your money back.
Yes.
And just go for it. At some point, you got to just go for it and have some fun.
And it's not about preference points down there. That's the cool thing, too, is we're in South Dakota, we're so used to, okay, we got to get this preference point, and we got to have so many preference points before we're going to draw this tag or that tag. It's just a straight lottery. Yep. So if you're lucky that year, that's great. On my Oryx hunt, when we were waiting to get released at the gate there, I was talking to a couple of guys, and the one guy was a resident, and that was his 19th year applying for this Oryx tag. And then another guy was still in the single digits. I want to say he was 7 or 8. I don't remember it offhand. But, then they're like, oh, how many years have you been drawing? I'm like, oh, this is my first time. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So then you kind of get it, holy cow, this is way more rare than what I was expecting.
There's always an opportunity. That's the plus and minuses of both systems, right? Mm-hmm. You can talk about how up here I talk about people about New Mexico and how it's dude, there's no preference points, so put in. Mm-hmm. Just put in. And then the downside is you might not draw for 10 years, but you might draw 3 times in 5.
Right.
I have. Same with the elk. Justin always gives me crap because I've drawn a really tough elk tag 3 times in 6-7 years. And he's a resident and he can't draw the stupid tag. But the odds are just different between what pools we're in. So it is the plus and minus of every system has that. But what I'm saying is it's an additional opportunity for you. You're not, so many states you're behind, or if you're starting to put in for Utah right now, if you're starting to put in for some of these states, it's so hard to catch up to how many points are already out there and issued to guys, that you'll likely never draw that premium tag you want, or it's going to be a 30-year wait.
Yes.
So it's this is just an opportunity, for fun. So, I don't know, quit talking about it and just go do it,
I had somebody tell me, with all the circumstances that I was going through, he kind of said, you can die with dreams or you can die with memories. He said, so there's so many people who we'll just take the tag stuff, for instance, that are so hesitant to put in for tags, but they want to do this. It's their dream to go on this For me it was an oryx hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Some people a moose hunt. But you have to put in for that, or you're gonna die with dreams. You won't ever get to do that. And then you have the people on the other side of the table that are like, well, you're being selfish. You're just thinking about yourself. It's like, well,
right.
It's twofold.
Yep.
You can do that, and you can make up for it in other ways.
You still have balance with it.
Absolutely.
It's not like you have to go on a $15,000 hunt every year. Like for me, like the chances of me ever doing that is slim to none. But I pick out these other things that I'm finding that are not that expensive, that I can draw with ample time in between, that I can put in some brunt work, some extra work on the side, whatever it is, to come up with the ample funds to make it happen. Like, that's exactly what you did with these tags. You weren't expecting to draw a $1,600 Oryx tag along with a $373 sheep tag this year. But the cool thing about New Mexico is, like, those hunts where they're lined up, they were drawn in early April, and you didn't hunt till February. So it's like you had that time to make that money, to make the trip work.
The other thing with New Mexico too, and even going through Justin and the outfitter, is it's a lot more reasonable than other hunts in other states.
Oh yeah.
There's so many I feel like that's really, everybody says it's the poor man's sheep hunt. Well, because it's the cost of the tag. The tag is just an out-of-state license tag, just like any of our out-of-state tags are here. Then there's the outfitter cost, but you're getting a relatively discounted hunt comparatively to the big Rocky Mountain hunts or anything up in Canada.
Yeah, $373 for the tag versus most between a bighorn sheep, desert bighorn sheep tags that I'm putting in for in other states, between $1,600 and $3,200 just for the tag if you were to draw. You know what I mean? Well, think about $1,600 plus the $373 tag. Like, that's the entire tag and hunt,
right?
Like, total. And that's just a sheep tag in Arizona. So you weigh it, right? And that's what I tell people. I'm like if you look at it, and I can see where a lot of people look at it as, because to me, yes, that's still a ton of money. It's like, not that I have a ton of money sitting around,
no,
but I look at it in perspective, in the sense of, if I tell somebody, it's like, yeah, it's $373 tag. Obviously, you have to have a $65 New Mexico license, and yeah, if you put in through the outfitter pool where you have to hunt with an outfitter for a specific amount of days, if you're spending between $400 or $500 a day with an outfitter, like, you're gonna spend $2,000. And a lot of guys are like, oh, $2,000. But I look at it in the sense of, I can't even draw a different type of sheep tag in another state for around $2,000. That's not even a hunt. That's just the tag.
No.
So that's my viewpoint on things. Is I'm like, I do view it as it's a cheap man's sheep hunt. So
yeah,
and it's a tough hunt. I mean, now there's other units in New Mexico that it's not as difficult. Or you can get a private land tag, not as difficult. In certain areas, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Where we're at, it's a little bit more rough country. It's tough. It's not like deer hunting where you're going out and seeing a bunch of sheep. No. It's a tough hunt. It's physically tough as well.
And you don't see a lot of other hunters either.
Yep.
I know Justin said some of those other units, you got a chance at some bigger rams, but you're also fighting other hunters. Lots of crowded areas, a lot more roads, a lot more access into those. Where we were spotting a lot of sheep at 2 miles, and then you had to get to them.
Yep.
So you're hiking a lot more.
Yeah, and we saw more sheep on this hunt than I had my previous 2 combined. Like, you had an awesome experience on your first sheep hunt, because we did see, overall, that was a lot of sheep in 3.5 days.
Oh, yeah.
4 days. Whereas, my previous, 10 days of sheep hunting, man, like, if we were to see, like, we saw that group on day 2, we saw that group of ewes right away, like 7 ewes that we spotted. If, like, we saw 7 ewes on a day, like, that was our day in previous years. So it was like, man, it was cool. We saw a lot of sheep, we saw a lot of big ewes, and we saw a lot of rams. Like, it was a good hunt. It was a really good hunt. But let's back up a little bit, because you had, you touched on your Oryx that you had right before that, and it really lined up well You kind of had the same situation I did last year. I did what you did this year. Last year I drew an Oryx tag and a sheep tag in the same season. My Oryx tag was a little bit different than yours. Mm-hmm. Let's get into, obviously people know like who followed us or follow our films, like I sheep hunted in the same off-range area as I Oryx hunted. Mm-hmm. You drew a freaking awesome Oryx tag. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So we'll just, back it up and I'll go straight from driving down.
Yeah.
I drew the tag. So my Oryx tag was a 3-day hunt, and it was on the small missile range. So it's on the White Sands Desert. There's a missile range all the way around that. It's all government property. And they're kind of broken up into 4 different missile range areas. So I came down here to Jordan's, picked up his stuff, and he was nice enough to let me use his gun. A little bit bigger caliber for the Oryx. They're a tough animal. Like, they were describing to me, African animal, they're a lot tougher. And yeah, I definitely underestimated how tough they are.
Yeah, their hides are like an inch thick. Literally, like, I mean, it's to protect themselves from lions.
Yep.
Like jumping on their backs, chewing on their necks. Like, man, they're at some points, like around their neck, their hides are like an inch or more thick. It's crazy.
Backbone dips down so that a lion can't grab on and grab them by the backbone. So it was pretty cool that way. But yeah, I picked his stuff up, and took off a little afternoon, about 1, and temp was dropping, wind was blowing. It's about 10 degrees and dropping, and that was when we had that one day or one night when it got down to 30s below.
Yeah.
And
yep.
I'm heading down, and I'm boogieing down, and I hit about 30 degrees in Omaha, and then it got to like 24, and it never changed. Like, and I'm going south, still going south. I'm like, man.
Yeah, which for those of you who aren't from up in the Great White North like us, like when we go south, we're used to temperatures going up.
Yep.
So it's like you drive an hour south and it's 5 degrees warmer. Like you drive another hour south, you're another couple degrees warmer. When that's not happening, you're kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I was cruising down, and I was pounding my seekers.
Nice, dude.
And I was like, well, I'm just gonna drive till I get tired. So I made it to Liberal, Kansas, and I was like, I'll just pull off in this truck stop. It was about midnight, and go, just rack out for a little bit, and I'll keep driving.
How'd it smell down there?
It's just awful. There was a meat packing plant.
Yeah, it's bad, dude.
And I was sitting there, and I kind of leaned back in my seat and got a whiff of that, and I'm like, whoa, baby, there's no way I'm sleeping here. So took a leak and kept going, and then so I kept going, and then I saw the sign for Amarillo, and I'm like, well, that's it. I gotta check that one off my bucket list. I'm gonna make it to Amarillo by morning.
That's funny. That's really funny. I know you texted me and I was laughing pretty hard.
So there I go. Drove into Amarillo and made it to Amarillo by 2:30 in the morning. And
super funny.
Slept for a couple hours and then boogied on down to Las Cruces.
Yeah.
To actually Justin's house, met up with him, and then met up with my guide Ray, who is right down the street from him.
Okay.
And Ray does all of Justin's tanning for his taxidermy business.
Yep.
So that's another nice thing too. I had some questions of, what are you going to do with the hides? What are you going to do with the animals? And obviously so my Oryx tag is a once in a lifetime tag. I can't even put in for that tag anymore.
Yep.
Even if I didn't get an Oryx.
And that was the difference in my tag and your tag. Yep. Like that off-range tag, you put in for it every year. Mm-hmm. But these once in a lifetime tags, you're done. So you're like, you want to make it happen.
Absolutely.
You only have 3 days. And it's 3 days.
Right.
It's not even a true 3 days, but I'll let you keep getting into that.
No. So, I get in it. So Justin does all the taxidermy, and his stuff looks amazing. And he's, used to doing the New Mexico animals.
Yes.
So he is, they look great. Versus coming back up here and trying to find somebody who does animals, and then you're going to get charged an exotic price because it's not a local animal. Like, just let him do them. They look great.
Yep.
I kind of met up with him and talked to him, and I met up with my guide Ray, and then I actually stayed in a hotel there in Las Cruces, and then we just went out to the White Sands Missile Range, which is, only about a 40-minute drive. And from the start, I thought, I'm not a high fence hunter. It's, that's not my thing. So we get there, and Ray was kind of explaining it to me, and he was great. He had been guiding for 40 years, so he had stories after stories.
Oh, yeah, dude. Talk your ear off, man.
Oh, it was fun. So he's like, this isn't a gimme. He's like, by any means. And they ended up giving out 87 tags for this missile range, and you had to go in there each morning and check in. So you had to be there the first morning for the pre-hunt, mandatory meeting. They search through all your stuff, your vehicle.
Big orientation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on government property.
Yep, it's all military police. We're doing everything.
Yep.
And so the first day we didn't even get released until almost noon. So basically we had a half a day of hunting. So everybody comes into the main gate, and you're kind of in staging there. And then when the mission lifts, then they kind of give you the green flag, and they call it the Oryx 500, because then all the trucks take off.
Yeah.
So by the main gate, it's about 12 miles wide by that main gate area, and then it kind of does like an hourglass, and then comes back up, and where it gets narrow, it's about 2 miles wide.
Okay.
And then it goes to about 6.5, 7 miles at the top. But it's 52 miles north to south, and there's one tar road going up it, and then your east side is the state park or national park, the White Sands National Park, and it's 4-strand barbed wire fence, so they can go wherever they want to. It's not like that's holding them in anywhere.
Right.
And then the hunt went all the way up to the summit, basically, of the mountain range that runs along it, which it was cool because you're like, oh yeah, I can hunt all the way up to the top of that mountain. Yeah, that was way bigger than what I was expecting and way harder to climb around.
Yeah, for sure.
So, the first day we did get into a group of Oryx, and I had about a 200-yard shot at a couple of younger ones, and I decided to pass on those. There was a couple of broken horn ones, and then they actually have broken horn tags too.
Okay.
So that's another thing I learned. A horn, you described it really well. A horn is something that they grow once, it never grows back. If it breaks off, it doesn't grow back. Antlers, they shed, they regrow.
Yep.
So it's like, if they break these off, they're just a broken horn Oryx. Then it will never grow back. So we saw a couple broken horns, a couple of younger ones, decided to pass on those. Ended up getting into another group towards evening, and we glassed and hiked up to some high points, glassed, and it's tough. I mean, the mesquite and the Creole, whatever that bush is, the green bush.
Yep.
Poke you 1, 2. Everything tries to poke you or stab you or stick you.
Yeah, dude.
And that's cactus, you're hiking up in there, and we got into another group, and we're trying to figure out where the mature ones were in there. There was a lot of younger ones. And then we start looking around, and there's like 8 different groups of hunters within 2 miles, guns all pointed in. And it's like, oh crap, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like East River deer hunting.
Yeah.
There's one deer in there and everybody's after it.
Deer around a quarter section.
Yeah. So we ended up not getting a shot off there. We had a group of hunters walk up, and a gal had shot one and wounded one, and we saw it in that group.
Okay.
So we kind of helped them, point them in the direction that one went, and we didn't want to step on their feet or chase them. They had been hiking for almost 2 miles trying to catch up to this herd, so we helped them out a little bit. And that was kind of day one. Coming back was, and then that was the other thing, you had to be out at the gate at 6:30.
Okay.
So there's a time frame. They would let you in the gate at X time. You had to be at the gate at X. If you got an animal down, you had to get a hold of the hunt manager.
Okay.
They would send an MP out, and they would wait with you there while you got your animal out.
Yep.
But they really didn't want you to shoot last light. And then another thing is if you shot one and left it overnight, it was probably going to be gone. There's a huge mountain lion problem, and on that mountain, and also there was coyotes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing gets hunted in there except for the Oryx, and this was the first time in 10 years that missile range had been opened up for hunting, that particular one.
Okay.
So there was a lot of Oryx in there, but they were scattering fast with the pressure.
Okay.
So, yeah, day 2, we get out there, and we can start a little bit earlier. That day we ended up getting released at like 9:30 that day, and we're sitting, this big group of people, I think they got like 19 the first day. So you have to check your Oryx in every day if you get one. They got like 19 the first day. So we're sitting there waiting to go, and we were up towards the front of the line, so that was pretty helpful for where we wanted to get to.
Nice.
And there's a coyote that walks across the road 80 yards and sits in the middle of the road in front of all these hunters, and everybody's looking at each other like, you have got to be kidding me.
Blast this thing.
Because anywhere else where everybody's from is like, that thing was just teasing everybody.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny.
No fear, though.
No, none.
No reason to be.
No. So, yeah, that
That's
day,
funny.
that was, day 2 was my humbling day.
Okay.
We looked a lot, we glassed a lot in the morning, didn't see hardly any. And then in the afternoon, we kind of went farther back in, and we just said we just got to get away from people.
Right.
And we got up in there, and we found some on the mountain already that were working their way up the mountain.
Okay.
And we were actually prepping to go up after them, and right as we were getting out of the truck, we see another group that kind of cut us off to go up there, and we're like,
okay.
I guess we're going farther back.
Yeah.
So we went back on those. That was a nice Oryx up there in that group, but it was impossible almost to get to. Those guys for sure probably weren't going to get any closer than 800 or 900 yards from it. Just how it was, could see them.
Right.
And that's the other thing with these animals is they see you way before you see them. You know, if you're moving up on them, and they keep like that 800 to 1,000 yard buffer between you and them, and they can, for as big as they are, and they got that white face and tall horns, they just put their head down and kind of weave in through the mesquite,
and they can disappear like nothing.
Oh, so frustrating.
You think a goat, like a mule deer, can ghost you? Like, Oryx are crazy, man. They just like they are made to camouflage in anything. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
And they have what's called like arroyos.
Yep.
It's like a little washout, little waterway.
Mm-hmm. And
they'll just dip down in those and pop up a half mile away and just be looking at you.
Right.
It's like, God dang it, I gotta walk, keep after it. And then the mesquite and like the underbrush is anywhere from like 4 feet to 8 feet tall. So getting a prone shot is next to impossible.
Right.
And then that's when I learned, I got humbled pretty quick on my shooting. We ended up getting on a group of Oryx, and it's kind of hurry up, run up on them, weaving through the scrub, and Ray threw the tripod up, and it's really unstable. And I throw the gun up on it. I had about a little over a 300-yard shot, and I shot. I didn't hear anything hit, and it kind of ran. He's like, "Oh, you missed." I'm like, "What?" Come on now.
Yeah.
Who missed a 300-yard shot?
Right.
And then, so then I rack another round, shoot again, missed in front of it, rack another round, shoot again, miss over the top of it again, and it's out at like 4 something, and I'm cranking the scope up as I'm, missing. And ended up, there's 2 Oryx in that group, and I missed 9 times, like, right there.
You're gonna tell everybody that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I was straight frustrated.
Dude,
like,
I know it's.
How am I missing?
Fun.
And
yeah.
So then we went back to the truck, and we're about a mile and a half from the truck.
Yep.
And then he's like, "All right, grab more bullets." I'm like, "I'm out of bullets." I brought 3 in the gun. 3.
Yeah, it's all you. I mean, you're shooting. Yeah, you're not gonna need them.
I wasn't gonna miss. Like that was my thought process. I shot the gun when I got down there. It was shooting good. Didn't have any issues.
Yep.
I wasn't planning on missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, so then we, set up a pop bottle and right at 200 and made that thing flip. So I was like, yep, it's totally me.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting on some more Oryx that evening then, and I ended up shooting one right at 500 yards, right at, an hour of light left. Kind of dropped down over this hill and literally just up and over. So I'm like, yes, got it. Totally redeemed myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we went up and couldn't find him. Just gone.
Yeah.
And we looked for that. We looked until dark, and it was a pretty bad feeling.
Of course.
You hate to hit an animal and then not recover it. And but it happened. So we're hiking back and driving out, and I said, well, I guess we'll go back in the morning and get it. And Ray said, probably not.
Yeah, it's gonna be gonzo.
Yeah, he said there'll be lions on it, or mountain lions on it, or the coyotes will get it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if we'll go try and find a different one. We talked to the hunt manager, and he's like, okay, we kind of came up with some different plans. It's like, we're gonna go with go try and find another one, and if we can't find another one, we'll spend the last few hours looking for that one again. But he's like, it's not like we're not gonna try and find one that's been sitting overnight with the amount of predators that were out there.
Yeah, and you already had to look for it for quite some time and never even had a...
And we had a really good mark on it, so
yeah,
who's to say it didn't get up and go
Dude,
away?
There's such... And that's a hard thing for people, I think, to understand, too, if they've never hunted these type of African animals. Like, they're not, like you know how tough a deer can be.
Yeah.
Like, these things are dumb tough.
Yep.
Like, unless they're smoked in a spot that kills them, they're hopping back up and running.
Mm-hmm.
You know
so
what I mean?
they're...
You might not even killed it.
We get...
Who knows?
Highly unlikely. I don't think it did, because
Yeah.
I'm almost positive where my mark was.
Oh, okay.
We were,
yep.
we had it flagged. I actually hiked back down the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and we were right in the same area, so I'm guessing it hit it, it dropped, it got back up, and it...
Just moved, went a ways or something.
Yeah, slinked out of there somehow.
Yeah.
And so the information that they gave us, they want low front shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
through the front shoulder, break that leg, and then you'll get into like the heart lung.
Yep.
And which is backwards of what, we always try. We try right behind the front leg, and that, the sweet spot right behind that front leg. No, they want you to destroy that shoulder and get into that heart so that they drop. Otherwise, they just keep going.
Right.
And they're extremely tough.
They can go a long ways.
Yeah. So end of night 2.
Okay.
That was just a high and low day.
Right.
You go from this, I'm so excited to get my first shot on an Oryx, to miss a bunch of times.
Yeah, what's
and then
going on?
You hit one, you think this is great, you're back on that high, then you can't find them and realize it's probably not even a fatal hit. It just knocked it down, or who knows, it could have ran down and through that arroyo. And so it's like, man, now I only have 1 day left. So it was kind of crunch time. Thankfully they let us in. We got a full day of hunting on Sunday.
Okay.
So they let us in. 6 o'clock we could be at the gate, and they let us go about 6:45.
Nice.
So after everybody's checked in, they check with basically the MPs and see if they got any missions coming through or anything like that. They didn't. They lifted. We went in. We went right back up to where, kind of our corner, way as far back up as we could get.
Yep.
And then right away that morning, we kind of glassed where I'd hit that one the night before. Didn't see anything. We're like, well, we'll just stay here and glass this corner. And we picked 2 nice Oryx out right away. Ray said, he's like, we got to go after those 2.
Yeah.
He's like, that.
2 of the bigger ones you saw that week?
Yeah, for sure. We saw a lot of Oryx. Not a lot of real mature ones.
Okay.
And Ray kind of said, the mature ones, he's like, they'll go up and over that mountain as soon as they get pressured.
Mm-hmm.
To where the other ones they'll try and skirt around it and try and move between the hunters type thing.
Okay.
Hide out. But yeah, it it was real evident that's what they were doing. And they're the size of an elk, so I didn't think they were climbing mountains.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They totally can.
And they're like a dang sheep or a goat, just up and on the top of this rim rock. I'm like, no kidding. And
it's crazy.
So we ended up getting on these Oryx, and we got up, and I had about a 700-yard shot where we were at with the truck. Basically, we were on kind of a 2-track road that went back in, and they were right at the base of the mountain. So I'm like, well, if we can get up a little closer, there was kind of basically a sand flat. Like, I can probably get prone right there, and I'm way more comfortable with that. So that was kind of our plan, is to get to that opening. So we got there, and I lay down, and I was rock solid. I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
This is what I wanted.
This is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And right at 5:20, and we kind of said, hey, take the lead one. That's a really nice Oryx. That's definitely a 35, 36-inch Oryx.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. We'd seen a lot in the upper 20s, low 30s, but nothing 35 plus.
Okay.
So I ended up getting proned out. Had all the time in the world to dial up the scope to right where it needed to be.
Yeah.
And shot and hit it, and hit it perfect to what I thought. And rack another round. It took off.
Yep.
Like, it dropped, and I'm like, oh, cool, it dropped. So I come off my scope, and I look up, and the thing's going up the mountain. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, like how?
Like, how is this thing going? Usually when you hit an animal, they run downhill.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, I'm going to find them in the nastiest ravine in the bottom of some hole. No. These things are running up the mountain, trying to get to the back of this canyon. And so I rack another round, and by the time I get them back in the scope, they're over 1,000.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well. So we kind of made a plan, and they went back into this canyon over where I could see, and Ray went back to get his pack. I had grabbed my pack and had plenty of shells this time, plenty of bullets. So then I took off hiking after it, and it got up to probably about a mile from me, and I was side hilling it up that mountain, and it's rough terrain. You're not only going through cactus and everything like that. There's rocks, it's like oversized rocks, like softballs.
Yep.
And everything moves underneath your feet.
Yeah, or you do the whole, you move and you hit a rock and it goes forward. You step on the rock that you just hit behind you.
Yes.
Like, this is the worst, man.
Or your foot will slide off.
Yeah.
It'll move and you'll take 3 steps sideways to go 1 step forward.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of extra work. But I ended up coming over the crest of that canyon, and all of a sudden I kind of stopped, catch my breath. I knew they were down in there because I didn't see them come up the other side yet.
Right.
And then I hear Ray hollering at me from back by the truck, and he's kind of waving his vest, and I get my binoculars out, look at him, and he's pointing up. So I'm like, oh man, this is defeating. They're up on top of that mountain. They got up on top of the mountain on top of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is going to be hard now. So I'm stopping, I'm looking, glassing up in the back, and they're not up there. And as I pull my binoculars down, I see movement like behind me on this rim rock. And I look up, and sure enough, it's a mountain lion stalking me. And the hair on the back of your neck stands up. And
oh yeah, dude.
Ray had been talking to me about all these mountain lions that they're overpopulated on this mountain, and there's not a season on them up there yet because they're still kind of in the game commission works type thing. So I'm like, crap. And then it's definitely low crawling up on top of a rim rock. He's about, I don't know, he's probably elevation wise about 150 feet up, but I ranged him right at 300 yards.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I gotta go put another shot on this Oryx. It's obviously still alive, moving away from me.
Yep.
But I really got to watch my back because I'm getting stalked by a mountain lion.
By a kitty.
Yep. And so I come up over this crest, and one Oryx takes off, the one that was with mine, and then I can hear mine breathing, like the lung blood bubbling, gurgling, and I was like, okay. So it hops up, runs about 100 yards, and then I get a good offhand shot and put it down and
nice.
Rack another round and spin around just in time to see that cat go up this sheer face rim rock. And I mean, and it is flat, like a flat wall. And that cat went up it like that. And all I could see was muscles across its back.
Oh, yeah.
And its back legs and like a 6-foot tail. And there I am just standing there, jaw wide open, like, dude. No way is this happening. The thing just scaled a 100-foot wall.
Yeah.
Like it was climbing a tree.
It's crazy.
Up and over the top it went, and you know, I kind of get back out, and Ray makes his way up to me, and he's like, "Did you see that lion?" I'm like, "Yeah, I definitely saw that lion." So then, you know, we kind of joked around. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was, you know, he probably smelled the blood on your Oryx and saw that it was wounded, and then when you were up there, he was just kind of following to see what was going to happen."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I was like, yep, that was definitely super intense, super exciting morning. Yeah, so then we took some pictures, got some really good pictures. Those animals are so beautiful, and they're big. They're a lot bigger than what I was expecting them to be.
For sure. For sure.
So, yeah, and then there's cactus everywhere, so we're trying to, you know, process this, bone this Oryx out. And I ended up taking, we basically did the gutless method.
Yep.
So we packed out basically one side, the 2 front quarter, back quarter. Then I took the 2 tenderloins, or back straps, and I took that down to the truck.
Okay.
In one load. Ray was like, "Oh, we can probably get it in one load." I'm like, "No."
I'm not doing it.
I'm like, "No. I don't really want a 150-pound pack going down there." I'm like, "I'll take 2 trips."
Yeah.
So, rock a seeker.
That's awesome.
I throw one of those in, head down.
Chug her up.
Yep. Get to the truck, fill it up again.
That's awesome, dude.
Go back up for the next trek down. And so, yeah, Ray had been talking to me about all his...
Well, he's an older dude.
He is. He's about 60.
Yep.
And he had a whole host of like health problems throughout, you know, surgeries throughout the year, and then his heart issues, and I'm like, oh jeez, like I'm gonna have to use my EMT skills on the mountain.
Right.
And he's telling, as we're getting back up there, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm getting pretty hot. I'm like, just take a break.
Yeah. Let's chill out.
I don't have cell service. Like, just let's take a break. We got all afternoon.
Right.
And yeah, I ended up getting him. He got a seeker, and we got some trail mix in us, and
nice,
some granola bars, and then we're good to go. But
yeah,
just a lot of, you know, it was probably low 30s during the mornings to start out, and then that day it was actually got up to like 65 with no wind and sun.
Yeah, you get that hot sun on you.
We were working on the south-facing slope and really sweating a lot. So no, we ended up, you know, putting the rest of the meat in a couple meat bags, and he took that, and then I took the cape and the head, which is a lot of weight in itself.
Dude, those capes are so heavy compared to
head.
It's insane.
Yeah, I underestimated that too. I thought, you know, maybe 30 pounds ish for 40 pounds. Yep, it was plenty of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I hiked that out, and
it's awesome.
Yeah,
cool experience.
It was
different type of hunt.
It was, and then came what I was going to do with the meat.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Sunday. You were flying in Monday. We were driving up to sheep camp Tuesday. Our hunt was Wednesday to Saturday. So I had a week with this Oryx meat, and Oryx meat is phenomenal.
It's really good.
It's super lean. They don't need a lot of fat for, you know, surviving winter. It's a lot like elk.
Yes. Like a richer flavored elk, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I didn't want to lose any of that meat.
Right.
Obviously. I debated on kind of doing it in the hotel, bringing the food saver stuff down. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's probably a smart move.
So we found a butcher in Alamogordo, dropped it off there. That guy was quite the character.
Right.
But yeah, they said they could have it done for me when we came back through that weekend. So
nice.
Then it was kind of just take a half day to relax and let the ankles and
recover a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, our short day was a little over 6 miles in the Oryx hunt, and it was hard hiking.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of long hikes, but a lot of short ones.
Okay.
You know, you run up to a place to glass or try and get some high ground to see where they went to.
Sure.
That type of stuff. So it wasn't like you're throwing your pack on
and going
hoofing it 6 miles, but it's a lot of little ones throughout the day. So
yeah, sure.
So that was the Oryx hunt.
An awesome hunt. Like whether you apply for an on range or off range, like both are going to be a blast. And
the on range, basically the way they described it to me is you have a little better opportunity at an Oryx because there's roads, military roads in there.
Okay.
So we had the tar road that went from north to south.
Okay.
And then there was a few gravel roads going off each one of those. Where the off-range hunts, you have some roads, some 2-track roads, but you're doing a lot more hiking.
Yes.
And the Oryx are a lot more spread out.
Yeah, and there's not like this massive, again, kind of like sheep. It's not like you're running into these massive densities of Oryx. Like you're covering a lot of ground to hopefully find a small herd, essentially. So it's
the largest herd we saw, I believe that one had 9 or 10 in it.
Yeah, that's about what.
And Ray said that's a big herd.
That's a big herd. Like there was I think 9 in the group that I shot my bull out of, and it was a group of 9, and they kind of like when they start doing their meandering stuff in the early day, they kind of start meandering. They actually broke off into like 2 different groups, like the group of 4 and a group of 5, and then from that, the bull I shot and his cow actually branched off and kind of were by themselves, and then like come evening they'll kind of group back up again in the little thickets. But it's like they just meander. They never stop moving.
No,
they just meander.
Very nomadic.
Yeah,
it's not like we're gonna bed them down here and they're gonna be there the next morning. No,
exactly. They just move and move.
Yeah,
it's nonstop. So that you talk about like that buffer they kept in front of you. Like on my hunt last year, they did the same thing. They just kept this like 500-600 yard buffer between us the whole time, and it's not like I'm out on the prairie on an antelope that I can get in prone, set up, dial to 600 and shoot an antelope. Like you can't get a prone shot.
No,
like there's nowhere to. You can't see above anything. There's enough. It's weird because it's desert and there's nothing to hide behind, but there's enough. There's enough ground, scrubby stuff that you can't shoot prone.
No.
And so like it's a sticks shooting hunt, which then limits your range. If you're shooting a long-range rifle, that just pulls your range down.
Yes.
It requires limitation. And then shooting on sticks is a whole different thing too. Like if you've never shot off sticks, like if you're gonna do that hunt, definitely practice shooting off sticks going into it, and practice shooting a 300, 400 yard shot off sticks.
Yeah,
I was able to do that.
I did that, but not to the extent that I probably, looking back, that I should have.
Oh yeah.
Because when I found I was mainly going high, and Ray kind of described this to me later on after we figured that out, that when you're on the sticks, just a little bit of extra trigger pull will flip that barrel up just a little bit.
Oh yeah, if you're jerking back just a smidgen, man, you're pulling it back into your shoulder, raises the end of the gun.
And most of those shots were we had just either speed walk or slow jog down, hunch down, and then all of a sudden the sticks are up, and you're setting them uneven ground, the tripod's like this, you're trying to get it.
Heart rate's a little elevated.
Yeah.
You're excited anyway because of the moment.
It's a lot of excitement. And
it's awesome.
The guides are getting excited too,
Oh yeah, they are.
They're excited too because they're trying to get you that shot, and so you're feeding off their excitement, and it's definitely humbling. Definitely kind of puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
I really had to concentrate on my breathing, and then once I got that prone shot, 520, bang, right where I wanted it.
Exactly, and you come home with a big Oryx, man.
Yeah.
And you came home, with more skills. Like I say this all the time when I'm hunting with Justin. Every time I get an opportunity to hunt with him, I learned something. I become a little better of a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that was about the sheep hunt I did was our 13th hunt together, and those aren't all in New Mexico. We've done a hunt in Alaska together. We've hunted in South Dakota together. Like, but that was our 13th hunt together. And I'm like, dude, every time, like, he came to South Dakota to deer hunt. Like, I invited him up. He came to deer hunt, and I still learn from him. Like, he doesn't whitetail deer hunt. He comes up here, and I'm still learning stuff from him. Like, it's just you just get around those type of people that have a different skill set than your own, and it's just fun to have that opportunity. Like, to those guys who I met Justin because I hired him as a guide. Because I drew that elk tag down there, and 7 years ago, and then we became friends, and so we just hunt together now. But he still technically guides me. But like even then, I didn't want to hire a guide. I wanted to hunt on my own. But like to the guys who never want to hire a guide because you want to do it on your own, like I get that because I'm that way too.
Yeah.
But dude, like I do feel at the same token, I do feel like you are missing out if you can get the right guides and be around the right people. Yes. Like how beneficial that can be to your own skill set. And like I relate it straight back to sports because I'm a sports guy. I played college basketball, like ran college track. Like, dude, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, Usain Bolt, all these best athletes in the world, they didn't just go to the gym on their own. Like they did, but they had strength and conditioning coaches that were the best at what they do. To coach, to get better. They had shooting coaches. They had nutritionists. They worked with people who were better than them at specific skill sets to make them better. And like I think in the hunting community, we need to view it that way sometimes too. Like you need to hire these people that have better skill sets than you at certain things, and you need to put yourself around them and if you have that attitude going into it to learn from them, get better, to like put your own pride aside when you're with them and just like soak up their knowledge.
Yeah.
Like let them guide you, like in the sense of like a teacher.
Well,
like,
my guide had 40 years of experience.
Yeah, and so
it was awesome. I mean, that's something that I think looking back now, there was a few other hunters that I talked to that, they weren't with a guide, they were on their own. But for me, I've never laid my eyes on an Oryx, a live one.
Yep.
I've watch YouTube videos, watch hunting shows, stuff like that, and just trying to find them out there. It's really hard, and knowing where they're going to be or what their tendencies are. That's part of that once in a lifetime hunt. You want to get your animal.
And these guys know the area.
Yes.
Like you're not going to waste a day and a half just kind of fiddling around. And as we're going to get into the sheep hunt we're going to talk about, I've had dozens of messages over the years about this sheep hunt, and obviously with like I put in the outfitter pool, which is just in certain hunts it is a better opportunity statistically to draw the tag, than just putting it in as a non-resident. And I have a lot of guys that they just put in as a non-resident because in the outfitter pool you are required to hunt with the guide for a minimum of 2 days, and then the outfitter still has his own preference where he might not book any 2-day hunts at all. He might just say, hey, I only book 4-day hunts or whatever it is. They'll have their own thing that they do. But like I just encourage people, like, dude, like on your first time doing some of these hunts, like this Oryx hunt or the sheep hunt, like it is 100% worth going in on the outfitter pool because like these sheep, you've heard me talk about this 100 times, and I'm like, you won't spot a sheep before Justin spots it. You just won't see it.
Like, it doesn't matter if you rip your binoculars out
5 minutes before.
Justin went and took a pee, and that was the only time that, I didn't get it before. Jordan found a ewe before Justin got back.
Yep, and it was because he was like, oh, I'm going to give you a 3-minute 3-minute.
Took a pee, filled the low tire up on the general.
Literally filled his tire up, and I found a group of ewes, and I bragged to him. He's like, "Oh, I gave you a head start." I'm like, "Dude, it's a handicap. It's like it's not a head start. It's just a handicap." Yeah. And because that was my whole goal for the whole hunt. Like, I didn't even care if I killed a sheep. I just wanted to be like, I'm gonna spot a sheep on my own before Justin.
Yeah.
And this was the third time on this hunt, and I had never done that because they blend in like nothing else. You will not. I promise you, if it's your first time going down there, you will not, like, it will take you time in a couple days to just figure out how to spot them.
Yep.
Like, and how they maneuver on mountains, where they place themselves, how well they blend in, how small they actually are in the scheme of the landscape.
Yes.
Like, you don't understand. Like, I gave you crap about your binos, right? Yep. Like, you bought what did you buy the
1250s.
12 by 50s? And I'm like, dude, don't buy those. Just buy the 1556s. And you're like, no, the 12 and around here, they're a perfect bino.
So the 1250s,
yeah,
I brought them out west, out western South Dakota.
Yeah.
And they were really good.
Yep.
But even out there, I like my 1042s on my chest.
Sure.
And then I run I run the tripod, the 16 to 46 by 65 or whatever. Yeah, the 65.
Yeah.
And so then I get down there, and I'm way underglassed with the 50s.
Right.
And to those 2 days where I didn't even wear my chest rig because I didn't want to carry that extra weight, and you guys were finding them before me, so I just basically left my spotter on the tripod and just used my spotter.
Yeah. Like, the country is that big where I just tell people, like, if you're going to put in your first time, like, spend a few extra dollars, put in with that outfitter, and learn. Yeah. Like, soak it in, learn, enjoy your hunt. They already have their spots that are, produced probably, and you can go enjoy the hunt, learn from the outfitter, learn how to spot the sheep, and hopefully get one. Unless you have 14 days to book on your own to go down there and learn area, explore, because it's huge freaking country. Like, yeah. And it's like, you saw, like, in some of these days where we were looking for sheep, how much country we covered. We would spend an entire day looking up canyons, looking for a sheep, and you're like, oh, well, we'll run into other sheep. Like, looking for this sheep we'll run into other sheep. No, you don't. Like, because there's that much country in comparison to numbers of sheep.
Yep.
And so you can cover, like, we put on 12 and a half, 13 miles one day by about 2.
Yeah.
From 6 to 2, 7 to 2.
Yep.
Not one sheep. Like, we're looking for a specific sheep that, came over from another canyon, we thought. And no, we're like, oh, we'll get it back in there. Even if we don't see the sheep, maybe we'll find another one that will be a shooter. Mm-hmm. Nope, you don't. You just don't find sheep. They're not everywhere.
You can find a couple of mule deer.
Find a couple, yeah. The only 2, but I live there. I was actually looked up the mule deer, like, draw statistics for that hunt, and, like, different tags, and, like, what people were saying. And I'm like, who would hunt mule deer there? Like, dude.
That was rough.
They're, like, even worse to see than sheep. Yeah. Because they're just, like, none of them. There's no mule deer around. It's insane.
No.
But, anyway, let's get into the sheep hunt.
All right.
If you got anything to close, anything else you want to say about the Oryx hunt?
No,
you did a great job. You story told. Like, I don't know how long we've been talking, but it was good.
No, it's, for me, that's one of the things that I want to kind of go through that whole thing and let anybody else experience that.
For sure, man.
That experience that I had, and I'll just echo that. Going with the guide was a lot more enjoyable for me. It took a lot of stress off of me trying to find the animal, not knowing what to do, where to go. They know all the rules and regulations and stuff down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of had a general idea, but man, there's a lot more to it, and it was a lot more enjoyable, I guess. And so that was one thing too, and it was fun getting to know Ray, and he's about my dad's age, so it was kind of fun hanging out with him.
That's cool. That's cool. You can talk about, like, rules and regulations of things, like in New Mexico, like you're around here, you pick up a deadhead, it's like whatever, you pick it up, you throw it in the back of your truck, like you pick up a deadhead in New Mexico and you carry it back to camp and you have it sitting in camp and you come get checked by a warden, like, you can legit get in trouble for that.
Yep.
No, you can't. Like, you have to call in a deadhead, like, actually, and a lot of people don't do this, but you're supposed to actually call it in exactly where it's at, like where it lies. Like, you're not even supposed to carry it to a road.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to call it in if you want to try to keep it. So it's just, like, little things like that those are the finite things in the rule book that you probably didn't read. Like, you read about, do I need to wear orange? You read about all these, like, random things. Like, but that's, like, just a finite detail that you might, get tacked on a fine or something like that. If you catch a game warden on a bad day, or like just little things like that you don't want to get in trouble for. You don't want to have to pay you don't want to get a ticket for something stupid like that. Like,
yep. There was a couple of things on the missile range hunt that if you cross the fence into this national park, you lose your tag.
Yep,
like
you're donezo. And you saw it. You
does.
saw people doing it. Like, and that wasn't even something you had to sit down and read on your own. Like, that was in the orientation you guys sat through.
Yep, they're real big on, X is your boundary.
Yep.
And which, to be quite honest, it was really hard to screw up a few of those, but people did it. Yep. And they said it even in the orientation. People are going to do this. What did they do?
They did it.
They literally went across the fence.
Yeah. And
into the national park and shot an Oryx.
Yeah. And I get from the standpoint of, like, in general, not that situation, but in general, like, things do happen by accident.
Mm-hmm.
You walk on a piece by accident, like, you get turned around. I totally get it, because stuff like that happens by accident with no ill intention. Like, that's life. Like, stuff happens without bad intention. But, like, yeah, you just gotta be on top of it.
Well, in the missile range, too, we weren't allowed to do any video. They're really, really sticklers on pictures. Even you couldn't take. There's a lot of bomb ordnance around there because it's a testing range,
right?
So you couldn't take any pictures, any of that. And that was something my guide was real knowledgeable on too. And he's like, if you see it, just walk around it. He's like, don't even walk by it. Just steer clear of it. And we're from Midwest, like, ooh, cool, look at this. It's a piece of a bomb.
Yeah, it's something different.
Right.
Like, yeah, I know. So, our curiosity once we leave the state, you know what I mean? Like, so many South Dakotans, like, and this isn't a bashing statement. We're just like, when we leave, we're curious people.
Yeah.
Like, we are curious people when we're out of our norm. And that's probably humans in general. You get out of your norm, you're going to be curious.
Most of it's with good intent.
Yeah, like I said, things don't happen because you have ill intent. Yeah. Like, a lot of things happen just because, your curiosity, or you maybe didn't educate yourself, take time to read certain things, like finite details, and we just miss them. We're humans. Mm-hmm. Like, that stuff like that can happen, but that's where, having a quality outfitter, that's a whole other thing. Is just like anything, we can talk. I'll sit here and bash my own profession in the fitness world. Personal trainers, like, there's a ton of bad personal trainers. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Just like, you want to be very picky with the outfitter you choose to put in the outfitter pool with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just like anything. You should do your research, be picky, call contacts that people have hunted with them, and go with the best. Go with the best you can.
So that's one thing. It's similar to our pheasant hunting up here. There is a ton of outfitters down there.
And a lot of them last a year or two. They go in these little cycles. They're like year or two. Like, find people who have been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And have been
reputable.
Yes.
And even like Justin, he's got a bunch of other guides that work for him. All these guys could go off on their own and do their own thing. And that's what some of them do.
Yep.
But then you don't have kind of that expectation of, where Justin does, where you want a quality hunt, quality animal.
Yep. Well, and like anything, a lot of it, like when you're this again, being a small business owner, when you're working for a company, you don't realize all the other fees, taxes, permits, all this stuff, insurances that like you always think like, oh man, I'm not being paid well. Like when you're working for a company, but then you get out on your own, you're doing things, and you're like, oh, like I didn't realize all these other things that were taking place. All these other expenses. So like, it's just like anything. It's expensive to run a business. Like, and so like find those outfitters that are reputable, been around for a long time, because they're likely running a good business. Mm-hmm. So so you rested on Monday, and I was flying out of Sioux Falls. You kind of rested. So I went to the airport early, and Monday being, I used to fly. So I worked for a company, and I used to fly out like every week for them. And so like I fly out a lot of times on Mondays. And so I kind of started to learn, like, oh, I want to fly out on Sundays instead, because Monday mornings in Sioux Falls, the lines can be insane. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, crap, I better get there early. Flight's Monday. I literally had nobody. I was so happy because I already had anxiety about flying. I used to like not care about flying, and I flew so much that it ruined it for me.
Yep.
And so, like, I woke up in the middle of the night on Sunday or, like, Monday morning early and, like, total anxiety about going to the airport. And so I get there and there's not one person in line. I was so stoked. Like, just went through security, took a couple minutes, went and hung out for a little while, got a bite to eat, and flew out to El Paso. I had no delays, nothing. So it was into Dallas first, Dallas to El Paso. No delays on either flight. Everything went smooth. I was stoked.
Yeah.
You picked me up in El Paso mid-afternoon, late afternoon, like 4 o'clock or something.
Yeah, it was
like 4:30.
Right around there. It was
and it
super
was,
nice.
Oh, dude. I was so stoked because I stepped outside and it was like a beautiful light breeze, like 70.
Yep.
I was like, I am so happy to be. I literally rolled down the window. You're like, you had already been there and used it, so like you don't care. And I'm like, window rolled down, head out the window.
Well, I sat. I mean,
oh, it was so nice.
It
man.
was probably in the 60s most of the time.
Yeah.
On White Sands, and I got down there, and then I realized, like, yeah, I took off, and I never switched the clock in my truck.
Oh, right.
So I dinked around in Las Cruces a little bit, and then drove down, and all of a sudden I pull up in the airport. I'm like an hour early, like, cool. So I opened both windows up, set the seat back a little bit.
Heck yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah, it was unreal, man. So we drove to from El Paso, and then just jumped back over to Alamogordo. Grabbed a bite to eat, stayed the night. Because when we were early, Justin had another hunter in camp, so we just were like, let's just spend the night here, grab a bite to eat. We'll go to Walmart, grab some groceries for our hunt, and took off early the next morning. Grabbed a coffee, drove up, hour and a half, 2 hours to camp. Probably like 2 hours to hit that nasty road. A couple hours, and
it's not so. The road you described to me, I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. It's like a washout creek bottom.
Yeah, basically. It's not even really a road. Yeah, and they've improved, like, since last year. Like, we got into camp in double the amount of time compared to last year when we drove that. It was like oversized rock the whole way. They have done a ton of work on it since last year, and it was like a pretty quick go.
Probably 30, 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, like we couldn't even go probably over 20, 25 last year. It was so bad. It was like you're going to get flat if you went over last year. So, yeah, we got into camp, shot our rifles, made sure everything was good, just caught up with Justin.
Checked out his new camper.
Oh, yeah, we went into his he bought a property up by his elk camp. So on the way, stopped at elk camp, that's right. Yep. He bought a new place that he's going to fix up, build some cabins on. It's sweet. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Deer walking right through the yard. The local mule deer herd walking right through the yard. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So we did that, and then drove into where we were camping for the sheep hunt. And, we had some nice weather, man. So day one, so Wednesday is day one.
Yeah, we kind of planned out what our hunt plan was. Justin got a new fifth wheel, so he was able to put the General, the Razors, nice 4-seat General that we were able to ride in. That was really handy going to and from where we had to hunt.
Because where we hunt is like 45 minutes in the General.
Yeah.
Like if you were to do it in a vehicle, it's going to take you over an hour.
Yeah.
Well over an hour. But in that little General, but you can cruise. I mean, you can go 35, 40 the whole way.
Definitely takes the washouts and the rocks a lot better than what the pickup does.
And it doesn't just beat your body up like in a pickup. And it just beats your truck up down there, too. So it was nice having that.
Yeah, one of the other hunters got a flat coming in, and he had to turn around and drive
a couple hours
with his spare to get that one patched. And
yeah. Yep, dude, I mean, you're out in no man's land. So
0 cell service, which...
It's awesome.
Yeah, I put it on airplane mode. It was pretty nice, actually. You don't realize how much you check your phone.
I know. It's crazy.
Until you don't have the option.
Yep. Yeah, it is really good. Like, this is the first time I've truly enjoyed that. Like, other times I'm like, I wish I could at least, and I minus the texting home. Like, I do miss that, but, like, just being away from the social medias, it's really nice. But, yeah, so Monday we geared up, went out to our spot, and it was actually, I was really familiar with the area because that's where I've been in that canyon several times. We took Travis last year back into that canyon a couple times. We never saw much for rams in it last year. But yeah, we took off right away. And Justin actually, earlier in the week, killed a nice ram in kind of the mouth of that canyon, like a 27-inch ram with one of his other buddies. But he, that canyon goes back 4.5, 5 miles.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, let's work our way back in there. So we work our way back in there, and like it was awesome seeing like you look like you're gonna like in that mouth of that canyon. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get right back up in there. Like I already knew this because I had been up in there before, and it was just fun being able to like watch somebody else. And you walk for a long time, and you finally get into the canyon.
We walked like 1.5 miles, and I'm like, when are we going to stop and glass for sheep?
Yeah, and you're
not even close. Like you can see basically on these faces that Justin wanted to glass from basically where we kind of parked.
Yep, you can already glass those.
Walk, and then we got to where kind of our first spot, and then Justin spotted that group of ewes, and all of a sudden we found some lambs in there.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh, cute little farts like hopping around, and
I saw more lambs on this trip than I ever have too, that's good.
There was a lot.
Lots of lammies.
They're fun. They're like little goats too, like they're fun to watch and
hopping around on the rocks. I mean, and we spent way too much time watching this dumb group of ewes and lambs, but we were having so much fun, like because they were scaling some rim rock stuff and like jumping some gaps, and so we were like just loving these little lambs.
We're watching it through the phone scope, going, "There's no way it's gonna make that gap. There's no way this thing's plummeting down."
And then you hear us, "Oh, did you see that?" And we're like, "Duh!" We're all looking at the same thing, like, but we're like, "Oh, did you see that?"
Watching these little babies hop around.
It was sweet, dude. Like it's so much fun. Like that's the truth of like these hunts is like you can enjoy some wildlife that is different and like just enjoy it. So
I was really thankful it was cold and the snakes and scorpions and spiders were all away.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, don't put your finger in any one of the holes on the ground. Like, I'm not putting my fingers in any.
Why would I do that anyway?
Desert hole.
Why would I do that anyway? Exactly. Yeah, so we watched them and decided like, okay, we need to get moving around this mountain, get further up in there, and we didn't go, but just around the next bend, right?
Yeah, probably a half mile, maybe.
That band of rams.
Yeah, and that was. Ultimately, that's the band of rams that my ram was in that I ended up shooting. We kind of looked at them, and they were moving already when we saw them.
Yeah.
So it was tough to get an idea of, where was there a good one in there? Then Justin spotted this one. He's like, hey, he's got to be 25. He's like, he's a good ram.
Yeah.
And so then we kind of hummed and hawed, and then I got down, and that's the nice thing about this hunt is most of the time they're up high, so you're able to get prone and shoot uphill at them.
Yep.
And get more solid. So that I did that, and I just wasn't stable. I think said he was at like 525, 550.
I don't even know if they were that far at the beginning, were they? I think they moved out to that. I can't remember, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It was like a good distance, yeah.
Yeah, but I was not stable at all. Like I was on a rock pile on the side, and I couldn't get... My gun didn't want to move the way I needed it to move.
We were in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Like, we were legit in a bad spot, so
I kind of just said, I'm going to pass. And
Yep.
Justin thought, he's like, you're passing on that ram? I'm like, no, I just don't have I missed a lot of Oryx the last couple days, so I'm not going to take a questionable shot and start that over again.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be solid, and then, it kind of went up and over, and then we kind of talked about it more, and you're like, that's a good ram. And Justin's like, well, are you going to shoot it? Like, well, I got one of those on my wall already.
Yeah, because I was to the point where I thought you were just like legit passing it, and I was like, dude, I'm going to shoot that ram if you're not going to shoot it. Like, I've been on 2 other of these hunts, and like I've only seen 2 sheep that were bigger than that, and Travis shot one of them last year, and Matt shot one that was about the same several years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, that ram needs to die. I'll happily shoot that because I don't think my ram right here is as big.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure yours is bigger, like a couple inches bigger.
So then, we're like, all right, let's keep going. Let's keep following them because maybe we only saw part of that band because they were already up at pretty high.
Yep.
So we kept moving, and the whole time I'm kind of kicking myself. Like, all right, I'm doing the whole, if I would be happy with that ram on the last day, why am I not going to be happy with it today?
Right.
And I was kind of going that, and then we stopped and we kind of got to them, and they were still moving on us, And I looked at you, and I'm like, I should have shot that ram. You're like, yeah, you should have.
And that's where I quit being nice.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, I think I literally said that. I think I'm like, because we stopped and like, yeah, I think we're getting a drink or something right there because they were kind of skirting like the top, right? Yep. And they kind of were out of sight. And yeah, you said that, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop being nice about this. You need to shoot that freaking ram.
Yep.
And then you were like, I know. And then Justin was like, he was 10 yards away, messing with his pack, and he was kind of like overhearing because like Justin's like that way too. Like if I'm bringing somebody, like he's not gonna overstep. Like he's great at like letting you do like what you want to. Like he's not one of those guys that's like, we're doing this. This is what you have to do. Like he loves to take in and learn and want your opinion on things too. And he kind of heard and like stepped over and he was just like, yeah, I'm just letting you know like. If it was anybody else, if you weren't with Jordan, he's like, if you were one of my other clients, he's like, I'd have made you shoot that sheep. He's like, I'd have made him shoot that sheep. No matter
if your bipod's like this, shooting.
Yeah, and so like, yeah, he was being like, he's a kind dude, but then he was just like, we all kind of had that moment of like, because it's hard. We're in the first 2 hours of the hunt.
Yeah, right away.
And that's a variable, right, that you have to think about. Like in your mind, in my mind, this is my third time doing the hunt. I know how few of sheep you can see, but in your perspective, you're like, oh, we've been out here 2 hours and I'm seeing all these sheep. Like
we had already beautiful. Yep, we're sitting here in the sun.
There's no wind. Like when most of the time it's nonstop 30-mile-an-hour wind. Mm-hmm. And so like from your perspective and my perspective, it was just different. You're thinking like, oh, dude, like we're gonna see a bunch of sheep. Like this is nice weather. Yeah. And so like there's tons of these variables you have to remember when you're hunting with somebody like. What their mindset is and what their perception of what's going on is, you know.
And the other thing too was we talked a little bit about it in camp the night before, and then again after I got my ram. Just said there's definitely bigger sheep in other units, and he said this unit that we were hunting, is extremely hard. The population of sheep isn't extreme, it's really hard hunting. It's like you're not going to get those big, yes, they're out there. The 30-inch rams are out there.
Of course, yep.
But like Justin shot a 32-inch ram higher up in lower elevation.
Yeah, yeah, in a different unit in some low elevation stuff.
Right.
And you even talk about like, people are posting pictures like they talk about the chaps like on them too. Like in this country, like you can get like. Big, beautiful blonde chaps don't exist because it's such a rough country. Like they just get their chaps get eaten up. It gets it's destroyed.
And it's also different. So Texas is Aoudad, New Mexico Barbary sheep.
Yeah, what they label them.
They label them. Yep, yeah. Same animal. They're a little bit different. So the Texas people, like a trophy Texas Aoudad, starts at about 30 inches. That's where they try and get those 30-plus inch rams. Yep. Where in New Mexico, they still call them Barbary sheep. They're the same thing, just two different things. So they, anywhere from 25 to 30 is kind of your goal for New Mexico.
Yeah, and this unit we're in, 25-inch sheep is like shooting a 300-inch bull. In a unit that 300-inch bull is a good bull. Like it's like hitting that number.
Yeah. So it's a little perspective from different areas. And this hunt is way harder than anything low country.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's just rough terrain. Like the terrain's just rugged, rock, really rocky. Obviously, you always have the cactus and cat's claw, all that crap. But yeah, it's just like the terrain just rocky. It's rough on your ankles. Mm-hmm. It's rough on your gear. You're laying down like sharp lava rock. Like it's uncomfortable country. Yep. Is probably the term to put it. So like you were kind of like, yeah, dude. Like if we can get up on this ram one more time, like if we can find him, like we can get a shot on him, I'm doing it. Yep. Right. I mean, you were kind of like you made up your mind there.
So yeah, then Justin was like, oh, you had your chance. Now it's Jordan.
Yeah. Like, what? Yep. And I was like, yeah, you're done for the week. I forgot about that. I was like, yeah, you're done for the week. Like, go and pack your gun on your pack. You're done. Yeah. that was really funny. I forgot about that, dude.
So we ended up, there was one, I would call it, or the canyon kind of split, and we were going to try and cut around basically on the north side. They were on the north-facing side of the south
Yeah,
side.
they kind of worked around this big bowl.
And we're like, oh, if we can just get around to him over there. Well, we got around in there, and then, of course, there's javelina in there. And Justin's like, oh, if we can get a shot at one of those. And you and I are like, yeah, that'd be fun.
What's crazy is, like, last year, we went up in there. So you mentioned how that canyon splits. Well, it kind of like big bowls around, and in the center, there's another, like, miniature mountain. Mm-hmm. And it's still, like, a couple hundred feet elevation. But last year, we had actually gone up and climbed that middle mountain so we could just glass that entire bowl from there.
Sure.
And we saw, like, in the same spot almost, like, and I guarantee you the same group of javelina, because there's not a lot of javelina back in any of this country. And, yeah, and of course we get back up in there, and a group of javelina hop up. And we already had the rams, spotted the rams bedded on that side hill. Yep. Like, I don't know, 700 yards away, something like that. And, of course, yeah, the javelinas jump out.
We're all looking at each other like, they're so lucky.
Yeah, because Justin had a javelina tag with him.
Yeah.
And so he would have totally pelted one of those things. And last year we were bummed because we saw that guaranteed same group, and it was like javelina season didn't open for like 2 more days because the seasons were different last year. And so we were bummed. Of course, we had an opportunity to blast one, and
then we
couldn't do it.
Waiting on sheep. So
Yep.
No, we took a little break, grabbed a burrito. That was awesome. Those are key out there.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Those
that was good.
Green chilies on everything is just top notch down there.
My favorite thing about down there, man.
Yeah, so we kind of hung out, and we had one ewe that was really being a lookout on top. And they are so smart. Like, she is literally the lookout.
Great eyesight, man.
And we were kind of pinned down in there. We ended up finally getting around, and then as we got around, all of a sudden we're like, oh, crap, there's a band of rams just hanging out, and they're 400 yards in front of this ewe.
Yep.
Already on the other side of the hill. So we got set up, and we picked the ram out. The big ram that I ended up getting had a white spot between its horns.
Yeah, a little blonde patch.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So actually that helped us out a ton.
Because there was one other ram in there that was like, he wasn't quite as big, but when they were like moving together, they were almost like so close. Your ram was a little heavier and a little longer, but like on the move, you would never tell them apart.
Yeah.
That blonde piece was like
key. Definitely. And they kind of fed around, and I was getting set up on some rocks, and I had really good, really solid setup, and he beds down.
Yeah, and not like a bed down where you can shoot him. Like, behind a big old cat's claw, half body covered with a rock. Like, actually, if you were to come around that corner and glass the other rams that were kind of to the left of him, you would never even know he was there because he was so camoed in. And that's where I'm getting at, this whole, like, finding sheep. If they're sitting down, like, you don't see them.
So, for where you guys were sitting, I was down just a little bit because I was proned out. And I could see the top curl, and then I could see part of his butt.
Yep.
But if I took my head out of the scope, it took me a while to find him again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. But it was really cool because I had a backrest under my scope, and he was like 6'10".
Yep.
I'm like, oh, this is... If he stands up, all I gotta do is just tap the trigger. And wait. And meanwhile,
we waited a long time.
We're laying on these rocks, and they hurt. Like,
your elbows and knees by the end of the week from like being in prone positions are pretty beat up.
So of course he stands up. I'm like, all right, you just got to stand up, stretch, and I'm gonna smack him. Yeah. Does that, stands up, but he turns, faces us, stretches, and then starts walking down straight at me. I'm like, crap.
And he looks awesome too. Like that footage we have of him right there. Like, so Matthew, this is the first hunt in 6 years. Matthew hasn't filmed for me and been with me, so it was weird not having him there. But so we like self-filmed this with one of our other cameras, and so I was just jumping on like the other camera, like, and the footage is really cool. Like when he turns, he looks great. Like he's a sexy ram. Like
awesome. He kind of hopping down, his chaps are flying out, and it's like that, blonde supermodel like flinging her hair when she's coming down.
Even better.
So he gets down and ends up stopping at 410, and I let one fly and hit him back a little bit, but definitely put a good shot on him. And he kind of ran around and over around yucca where I couldn't see him, and then he kind of made his way down. And you and Justin still had him in the phone scope, so that was nice.
Yeah, and I actually still had him in my lens on the camera too.
Yeah, but I couldn't see him from where I was at. And
Yep.
then he kind of made his way down, and then I caught him probably for a split second. I put another one in him.
Yep.
And hit him back because he was moving.
Yeah.
And I just quick shot and hit him back and hit him in the back pelvis, I guess.
Yep.
That's where we ended up finding it. And then the stupid thing went up the hill.
Yeah, he just dropped down. So they were already working their way down into this big crevice when you put that first shot on him. And then he came down a little lower, like you said. And at that point, like, you just did the right thing, get some more lead in him. And then he just, like, dropped down into that crevice and, like, popped back up that opposite side, right?
Yep.
Like, and so we were kind of, at that point, he was out of sight.
Yep.
So we were kind of unsure, like, oh, maybe he's just down right there. And so we packed up our jazz.
Yeah, we
worked that way.
Packed up, we're high-fiving a little bit, but, like, the silent, like, okay, we don't have him yet. But
yeah,
he's that was probably a good shot.
Exactly,
so
exactly.
We get up. And just get up over the top of this hill, and kind of Justin's looking down this way, and I'm looking down the other way, and then he takes off up the hill.
Yep.
I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. He's got 2 bullets in him.
Yeah.
And
again, tough African animal.
Up the mountain he goes. So we go, run across the bottom of the canyon, get up to the other side so I can get a decent shot on him.
Yep.
And Justin's like, oh, there he is. He kind of came out, and he was just about to the top of that back of the canyon. And I dropped down, laid right in a cactus. I'm like, hey, dum-dum. Like,
there's cactus everywhere.
You've done this before. I didn't even look.
Yeah.
You know, because I was so focused on putting him down.
Yeah, getting him finished up.
Before he would get into that next canyon over.
Yep.
And, yeah, I ended up getting like a 185-yard shot and
just dropped
him.
Thankfully, because, like, you can start chasing sheep all over the world.
Where those other ones went,
yeah.
Where he was going, we did not want to get back down.
Funny thing is, like, I actually stayed back, I don't know, 150, 200 yards, because I thought he was going to cross over, and I had busted my rifle off my pack, because I'm like, I thought he was going to work up over this little saddle, because where the other sheep already had gone, and I'm just like, at this point, like, this is teamwork, like, in case he was to run, like, I'm going to start throwing shots too, you know. And thankfully, he just stayed on that side hill for you, and you just finished him off. It was perfect. It was perfect.
Yeah. So I mean, and then like, wow, that happened so fast, and we're still first day.
Yep.
You know, we're just afternoon.
Yeah, it just crossed noon o'clock.
Yep. And we get up there and kind of side hill up to them, and man. Yeah, I knew they're pretty big animals, but they look so small up on the mountain, and then you get up there and they're stocky, like little linebackers.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't have been happier. I was almost to that, like, just dumbfounded. Like, did this really just happen the first day?
And they're such a cool animal.
Yeah, really cool. The horns sweep back, and we got some really neat pictures.
Oh yeah.
And just everything about back in there. Just the sky was cool, like it was the whole time. And yeah, they're just a beautiful animal.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about, like, the sheep is, and when somebody, friend or ourselves, get a sheep, is like that moment after the fact, and like taking all the photos. Like, they're just fun to, like, the photo aspect is so fun to me up in there, because the country is so insane. Like, he was in such a cool spot. Man, it was just...
It's really deceiving, too, because I'm with you in the same boat. I love taking pictures.
Yep.
And for me, pictures are what bring back those memories.
Yeah, I want good
you
photos.
You can think you're going to remember everything, but you're not going to. So yeah, we took a bunch of photos, and they can be deceiving at different angles, because at the one, you know, the straight-on picture, you're like, oh yeah, there's rocks behind you, and then all of a sudden you turn around into that front-on picture, and you get the whole canyon where it opens up. It's like, oh.
Yeah, and no picture does that country justice. Like, that's the thing that's so hard. Like, we shot 3 sheep, Travis's last year, yours, and then mine this year, that were all in some really rough stuff. And, you know, you do your best to really show that in some of the pictures, and it's like, no picture does that country justice, man.
No.
Like, it is just cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
So, so we ended up, got our pictures. You know, it was kind of nice having 3 people, split the meat up, and then I took the cape and the head, and it was a little 3+ mile pack out back in there.
Yep, I think we're about time you wind around that big part of the mountain, like from where we were at to actually, you know, reaching where we parked, you're probably putting on 4.5.
Yeah.
You know, the way you wind in and out, maybe a little more. But yeah, like straight line, you're probably 3.5.
Yeah.
You know, but
no,
it's just so much winding.
So it was really nice to split that weight up.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And it was a really fun pack out too, just because, you know, it's first day on a hunt that you might not even get one on.
Yeah.
And you know, so we're kind of laughing it up, having a good time on the way out. Like, this is really cool. We're 50% tag filled now.
Yeah, on that hunt,
on the first day,
guys with 2 tags, you hope to fill one. You really don't. Past that, you're kind of like, yeah. Hopefully, one guy fills.
Right.
You know.
Right. And there were some ewes in there that were big ewes.
We saw at least 3 or 4 different ewes that were over 20, and a couple that probably pushed at like 22, 23. They were awesome.
Yeah.
Like, really tempting not to just blast one.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So we ended up packing out. Got back to the general, got a drink quick, and then on our way out, we're like, let's glass a little bit. We had about, you know, an hour of light left.
Yeah, and before we actually even got back, you know, we hunted our way back out of that canyon because it had been so many hours. We actually spotted a new group coming out. Remember on the
on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean another probably like 7. Yeah, on that opposite side of the canyon on that east side. Yeah, probably like another 7 to 10 ewes. Maybe one. We did see one smaller ram that was in there. I remember I had my spotter out, and you could see he was a ram, but
they tucked over the top pretty quick.
Yeah, and there was nothing crazy in there. But again, we saw a lot of sheep that day, probably upwards of 20 sheep. Yeah, you know, for the whole day. But yeah, got back, drove that trail back out to the road, and decided to glass.
Yeah, we're kind of
the opposite.
We had like
side.
An hour.
Yes,
and granted, we knew we weren't going to go after anything.
No.
With an hour of light left out there.
Right.
But we were trying to find something possibly to come back to in the morning. Yep. And again, you know, I set my big spotter up. You guys were in the 1556s, and Justin right away. Oh yeah, there's a sheep right there, and it's on this top of this grass. And I'm looking, I'm like, what? You know, I can't see squat.
We're glassed from 2 miles right there. Yeah.
So then finally, one moves, and I'm like, that's like an ant.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, when you're glassing, you're thinking you're just going to see stuff, but it's so minutely small against what you're looking at that you don't even see it in there, and you kind of have to be lucky to even you have to get a little movement.
Yep.
And if you get lucky enough to catch the movement, you're going to spot that animal.
They start popping out.
Yeah.
Once you can get that movement, and then I had my spotter cranked all the way up then, and then I could start to pick them out, but I was like, holy cats there.
Yeah.
So,
and I had my big spotter with me that night. So we busted that out too, and there was a lot of sheep on that mountain, probably upwards of 30.
Yeah.
On the side of this, and it was nasty. It was like rim rocky. It wasn't like just normal mountain stuff. It was actually one of the bigger mountains in the area, and really rim rocky, nasty, multi-fingered canyon. Yeah. And they were all working up on that rim rock on that side hill.
Definitely one hot ewe in there.
Yes, because we saw one big ram. You know, from that far, what we classified as what we thought was big.
Yeah.
He was working her, and then another big ram kind of came off the rim rock out to that like grassy side hill, and he actually came over there, and like I was watching through the spotter and actually like kind of butted him, and you know, and they were
standoff.
Yeah, and they were both pretty much almost the same size, and good chaps for out there from what we could see from that far.
Yeah.
And they were definitely fighting a little bit over that hot ewe.
And we had the limpy one too.
Oh yeah, so there was one ewe that was must have been wounded or something, or had some kind of hoof issue, but she was gimping around, and it was plain as day from 2 miles.
Yeah.
Gimping around.
With that big one.
Yes.
Yeah, with that big one.
Yep. So we kind of use that as like an identifier. We're like, okay, well, if we get in this group tomorrow, we see a gimpy ewe, you know, we have the same group.
Yep.
You know, so yeah, that pretty much led us to, you know, the end of that first day, and it was fun because we killed one and we had a plan already for morning. We didn't have to be like, well, where do we want to go?
Yeah.
Look, we already had have your hopes up a little bit of like, okay, we have, you know, an estimated area where these sheep are going to be. We get in the first light, hopefully some sun shining, and we can spot these sheep in the morning.
Right.
So
we went back, pull all the meat out, got that on ice.
Yep, took care of the ram.
Yep, Justin caped the head out.
Yep.
Grilled up some brats that night.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
That was key. But
good.
yeah, we then the next morning, you know, and a lot of, you know, when I talk to people about these hunts, a lot of guys are like, oh, did you come back and have a bunch of drinks around the bonfire? No, not at all. Like,
I'm gonna get hydrated. Like,
we literally ate,
yep,
hydrated, and in bed by 8:30.
Yeah, we watched some movie. Like, Justin has a little projector in his camper because he's got the big, you know,
toy hauler.
So like, he has a sweet screen in the back. So like, through the projector, watch some TV.
Watch some hunting one night. That was kind of cool.
Yep. You just hang out. You literally just like get your feet up.
Yes.
You hydrate. Try to get as much fluid in as possible. Again, for us, you know, we opted to take the extra time to actually like cook some some hot food because you're kind of just snacking throughout the day, or you haven't, you know, you're not taking it's just nice to have the nice like warm cooked food. Like it brings you energy. It's good, and you know, you're not per se camping in a tent or over a fire where it's a little bit tougher to cook. So it's like take advantage, take 40 minutes and make something. And it gets dark fairly early, so you do have this window of time to do that, which is nice.
And Jordan and I kind of both talked about it. Drinking a lot at night, drinking alcohol a lot, you're just setting yourself back the next day.
Yeah. Oh,
and
dude, totally.
This hunt takes a lot out of you, and there was those couple other guys in camp that, you know, obviously had their Miller Lights out at
dude.
the night, and to each their own.
Yep. And we still, you know, at times you have an occasional like single drink. You know what I mean? Like there's times, you know, you do that. You know,
right.
But like first day of this hunt, you know, where you're putting on miles, like, that was a 12-mile day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that we put on in day one. Like it was a long day. You know, you stack it on, so like you're still thinking, you know, you have multiple days of this. You want to be ready to rock. Like you want to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, recover the best you can, and prep for the next day. So recover from the day that you just had, and anything you have to do to put yourself in a better position. And nutritionally is a great way to do that.
Yeah, we definitely did that when we stopped at Walmart and got our food, and we kind of talked about like what we were gonna. And granted, you can go buy the easy junk food and open a package, but we're like, all right, let's get some veggies, let's get some fruits, like good,
I try to
quality foods.
On those hunts where we're going back to a camper, I try to still think the way I eat at home in the sense of protein, carbs, fats, and then still getting in vegetables for micronutrients and fiber, like, because those are just things that make you feel right. You know what I mean? Like make you feel good. So we did that. So we got in day 2, got up early, drove out there before sun up, got to where we glassed the night before, essentially the exact same spot, set up glass, and we waited and prayed that we were going to get a little sun through the clouds.
And that was another thing. Justin's like, all right, these rams, as soon as that sun comes up, he was pretty adamant on we got to get there before the sun comes up. You're like, okay, you know, it's not like deer hunting where you got to be out there an hour before, so you know.
Yeah, you don't quite have to do it that intensely.
But when that sun touches the top of that mountain, as it works its way down, it's like an alarm clock for those sheep.
Yep.
As soon as that sun hits them, they warm up, they get up, they stretch, they move, they like that sun, and that's when you can start picking them out.
So it's like you want to be in position already. You don't want to be driving during that time.
Right.
It's a great opportunity to spot your sheep.
Yeah, and it did.
And we did, and we knew we were going to have wind that day. We had written down the forecast when we had some service before we went out to camp, and we knew it was going to be, you know, the wind was going to really pick up later that afternoon and potentially ruin the whole third day with some nasty winds.
That's one of the things that I guess I didn't know going in there, but those sheep, they hate wind. And Justin said, if it gets windy, we're not going to find them, because basically you have to glass into the wind, and then they're going to get into the nastiest, littlest cut, and they just curl up in a ball and you can't see them.
Yeah, it's tough. And there's wind all the time out there.
Right.
So it's like the fact that we had day 1 was like, it was almost eerily still. Like, it was crazy. I've never hunted on a day like that out there before. And so day 2, the morning was actually not bad when we spotted these sheep, but then it really started. So we did spot these sheep.
We did. Yep.
We spotted them right away, almost in the same spot. They just moved a little bit around the face. Wind started to pick up as we were making our game plan.
Yeah.
And so, we had a mile and a half, 2 miles in to kind of angle in to get to the base of this mountain.
Yes.
And we were, at that point, still trying to predict which way they were going to move, because they were kind of feeding to the face and they kind of worked back. And so we were like, okay, we can kind of work our way straight in for the first mile before they're going to see us. And from there we can kind of game plan on, okay, which way they're moving. And that's really what happened. We got in about a mile and they started working on the face we thought they did, which gave us space to make a further move. So we actually moved onto the base, realized, spotted the sheep, spotted Gimpy up in there, knew that we couldn't, from where we were at on the floor of the mountain, that we couldn't attack it from that way. So we backed all the way back around.
Yeah, again, there was a lookout U.
Yep, they're really good at that.
If we would have stayed down on the base, she would have picked us out right away.
Easy. And the wind was nasty in that spot. So we worked around the base of the mountain and then had no choice but really to shoot straight up. So we climbed a couple hundred vertical feet up the rocks, started working our way up. And then basically, they're on the side, tucked in this finger on the side of this mountain. And so at that point, we're side hilling the mountain basically with them. And then there's this point that kind of stuck out, and we were going to work out to that point and hopefully kind of see into where they were bedded down.
And it's like lava rocky. It's real weird because down towards the base on the lower part of the mountain, it's really loose, sandy, a lot of smaller rock, or oversized rock.
Yep.
But then once you start climbing up and it starts getting more rim rocky, it's more like lava rock. So you have to wear gloves. It cuts everything, rips everything.
Yeah, and actually that was some of the more sketchy stuff I have navigated where we had worked on that side hill. We had a couple spots where it was it was too hands on, and it was, if it wasn't for the lava rock being so grippy, you wouldn't have done it because it was sketchy in the sense of if it would have been loose rock, you could literally slip and fall 80 feet, 100 feet. But since the lava rock's so grippy, you can literally just two-hand it, put your boots on, and just scale it like a spider with really no problem, which is, from a distance, you'd probably see it and be like, what are they doing? Because it looks like you're going to free fall on a cliff, but in the grand scheme of things, not terribly sketchy just because of the gripability is so good.
Yep.
But really, we were in a couple kind of miniature exposed areas that were, you got to be paying attention. Don't take it lightly. You're probably 99.9% going to be fine.
Yeah.
But you just don't take it lightly and focus on what you're doing. So worked around it, and Justin kind of led the way out to that point, and we got around that point, and that dumb, stupid Gimpy U was so fallen behind so far that our wind must have sucked around that corner and busted us. So we didn't really have a chance to set up properly. We thought it was going to be just set up, get a 300. Where she was at was 200 yards.
Yeah.
But the other sheep, they must have they must have just busted out of there, and so it was literally quick jump up there, dial the scope, and that ram started working, finally worked out along that side hill. So Justin was feeding me ranges, you were filming, and I was working my dial on the click, target acquisition, and it was, I think he was probably around 380 when I took that shot, and he was still, moving, not running, not walking, just trotting, in a hurry.
Definitely a moving shot.
Definitely a moving shot at, 380 in the wind. And I was propped up on this lava rock, not terribly stable. It wasn't bad, but I should have actually, I had my bipods on it. Looking back, I should have went straight gun on the rock, and I would have been way more stable. 20/20 hindsight.
Or pack, either.
Or pack on there. But everything happened so fast. And this ram, when we got up in there, we knew from 2 miles, we knew he was nice. And we got up in there around that corner, and we were oh,
he's big.
He's once in a lifetime in that unit style ram. A ram that I dream of, that I figure I'll never shoot type of ram. And so he gets up in there, and I shoot right over him, and he works up, and he kind of skylines on this big cliff, and I was about ready to shoot again, and my bipod slipped. At that point, I was really focused, locked in.
Yeah, he was right on the skyline. It was this.
It was awesome.
Picturesque.
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I pull my gun in really tight on the shoulder, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drill him. And I pull it in so tight that my bipods slip off the rock, and I'm like, oh. And you can hear me in the footage. I'm like, oh. And you can actually hear the bipod slip off. And even you were like, I heard your bipod slip off. So I don't get a shot. I don't get a second shot at him. And I'm like, what the hell, you know, like I shot over him. Like I'm not too upset because it was a challenging shot.
Yep.
Not really that mad.
It wasn't wounded.
It wasn't wounded. It was, you know, I really wasn't that mad. I was more bummed in the sense of like, well, I just know how these sheep hunts go, and like you bust them out, it's gonna be hard to find them again. And so in my mind, I'm thinking like that was a once in a lifetime ram.
Now I know how good he is. And
yeah, I know how good he is, and I'm like that was my chance, man. So I'm just thinking more or less like I'm not really mad I missed. I'm just thinking like, man, it'd been really cool to have that sheep. Like that was a dream. I've dreamed about that sheep since I started doing this. Like that stinks. Like you just don't see sheep like that out there. And so I look at my dial where I'm dialed to, because you still want to evaluate like, did I just pull high? What's going on? And I definitely came to the conclusion that I had over-dialed 2 clicks. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, like over-dialed 2 clicks, whatever, like not a big deal. I just, you know, heat of the moment, didn't lock in right, you know, and he was walking, angling away. So I think subconsciously when I was dialing, I was accounting for the time I target acquisitioned him being another 30 yards out,
right?
You know, so you look at all those things when you're done, like what was going through your head, and you evaluate. So we worked up on top of this big spine of this mountain where there's canyon on both sides of this cliff.
Yeah, we definitely had a choice there.
Yeah,
were we going to drop back down because we climbed, you know, probably 300 feet of elevation to get to where we're at.
Yeah,
were we going to drop back down to the bottom and try and run that bottom canyon in? Mm-hmm. But where they went, they kind of went on the top, so they could have went 2 different canyons.
And they could have just got up on top of the big mesa, and that mesa ran for 3 miles up top.
Right.
And so at that point, we were like, let's stay up top, maybe get lucky and catch them over time.
Would we climb maybe another 100 feet of elevation
Probably.
by the time we got over there?
Maybe a little more. Maybe 2.
Yeah.
We were like midway up that mountain. 3.
Oh, because we had to climb to the peak.
There's multiple peaks. Like, it just keeps climbing. So we get up there, and it's blowing like gusts of 50.
Yeah, the wind. We were in there, and the wind was picking up, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go find him again. And we get up there, and it's like,
yeah, and it's sketchy. And Justin's literally like, we're gonna work this spine. We get to the back of it. We don't see him. He's like, we're going back. He's like, we're not gonna waste our time up here in the wind. And I'm like, oh, I agree. Like, so we're on this spine, and all of a sudden, like, we're glassing, and all of a sudden, I hear this jet. It sounds like from a distance, and I look back. I look over my shoulder. And there is a fighter jet that is literally doing a flyby over us. And I'm talking not way up in the sky over us. I'm talking like you feel like you can reach up and touch it. Like obviously it's not that close, but like it's that close that you can easily see every number on its wing. On its wings. Like if it was turned upside down, I guarantee we could have saw the face of the fighter pilot. Oh yeah, it was. And so literally we both all 3 of us do this. And then all 3 of us go that because he was moving so fast. They were doing dogfight training out there because we saw multiple after they flew over, and we both like tucked and like covered our ears because he was going so fast. Like if he sonic booms, like we're gonna be in trouble. And because we've heard sonic booms out there before, and so that was awesome. But we kept working that spine in the wind, and the left side is such a steep drop off that literally you can't really see anything that's under you. Yeah, you can see Cross Canyon.
I was walking third, and we did 3, and I was kind of keeping my eye down in that canyon to make sure they didn't cut out underneath us.
Yeah, and so we work, and all of a sudden, we were quite a ways. We were like almost to the back of the canyon, and all of a sudden Justin's like, "Oh shoot!" And sure enough, they were like 7,500 yards right under him. But you just—it's not like you can prevent that. Mm-hmm. You can't see them. That's why we hunt. Like a lot of sheep hunting, you hunt from the top down. This sheep hunting, you try to keep the bases and you hunt up. It's just the way the mountains are laid out. Mm-hmm. You can shoot from the bottoms. So of course they bust out. They're running up the canyon. So like I take off, running across. They actually saddle up over our spine and drop into the other canyon, which was weird. Like why didn't they just work up to that mesa and get the heck out of there? But they must have felt the need to stay in that. It was rough stuff. They clearly wanted to be in there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm taking the camera and I'm getting this pan shot and I'm thinking I'm
and we're running away.
Being Matthew, trying to get all this other footage, and I look back and those 2 are taking off. Like,
you didn't even hear that it was going on. Like,
no,
it was so windy you can't hear anything.
No, so then I take off and all of a sudden I see your Furies come flipping out of your pouch.
Which are not a cheap pair of binos. Luckily, Vortex has their lifetime warranty. But I didn't have my bivvies zipped up because I was using them, randomly using them. So I just, when I took off running, they weren't zip full. So I was running and they just popped out. And I heard them smash on the rocks. I'm like, well, those are got to be done.
Yep.
And I kind of I just gave you a look back and I just like pointed at the ground because I was like, I'm not going to stop and pick them up. Like, I'm going to try to shoot the sheep.
Yeah.
And thankfully, like, you happened to catch me. I don't even know if you saw me or if you just saw the binos.
I saw the binos.
Yeah, which is crazy that you saw them and you like snatched them up. Somehow they still work. They're a little dented, but
yeah.
I don't know. I need to go do some range tests on them, make sure they're still accurate. But those sheep already got all the way out there across canyon. They were working like side hill away. And I managed to get set up quick prone in a weird spot. And the ram was all the way in the back working around, and Justin fed me a couple ranges. And I did get one more shot on him there. And I thought for sure he was dead because he was just kind of like slow trot, like perfectly broadside, side hill away. And I was like, oh, the sheep's dead. I was stable. And I shot right over his shoulder. And I'm like, and that was at 340. So like chip shot. And at that point, then I was like, what the hell? So, and looking back again, I looked at it then. I don't think I misdialed, but I had to have been dial high again. I
don't think we accounted for what the crosswind.
Yes.
We had a really big crosswind in that canyon.
It was, oh dude, it was nasty.
And I don't think.
And it was blowing up that canyon too.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't just you have a straight crosswind coming from left to right. Yep. It was coming, basically, the way it was coming around one canyon, and then it was meeting the wind from the other canyon.
Yep, it was just working up this huge, like, finger. And so I do think that wind played with that bullet hard. I might have been dialed off a little bit. Yep. So then at that point, you have that, you talked about it with your Oryx, like, you have a little bit of that confidence change where you're like, dude, I'm a really good shot. I have I've had this rifle for years. Travis built it for me. TS Customs, like, I'm very efficient with it, very confident with it, like, and you miss a couple shots like that, and you're like, okay, one, I know I misdialed. Second one, I'm at 340. I'm like, what the heck? Mm-hmm. So, like, you do start playing with a couple mind tricks in your head. Like, you have that, you're questioning yourself, whatever. So, Ram gets away. Day's shot because it's straight wind the rest of the day.
Yeah. Checked for blood.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, we went over and checked. Clear miss. Looked at,
stupid descent down that.
Stupid descent down it. Our knees hurt when we were done. And so that was kind of our day. It was like we got back at like 1, and we were like, well, we have half this day. Let's go it was warming up. Let's take your sheep meat. Let's drive a couple hours up to where Justin's elk camp is, and let's get the stuff taken care of. So
put that in the cooler.
Put it in the cooler. Came back. It's running out. Our battery's running low. Let's get through the rest of the story. Let's see what we can do. We'll see what we can get through. It's blinking. We got a little bit. Okay, so day 3.
All right, day 3. So we dropped the meat off, get back. It was kind of nice. We caught a little nap in the truck.
It was awesome.
On the way to drop the meat off. Mm-hmm. Day 3, and you felt pretty dejected coming out of there.
Yeah, it's a bummer. You missed a lifetime ram, dude.
Yes, and so day 3 we ended up going kind of back in that same area and glassed them from the road.
Yeah, and we didn't see anything in the morning. Well, we went to the back end where we thought they went.
No, I'm way ahead of myself.
Yeah, you're ahead of yourself. So the morning we made the game plan. Justin and I did. We're like, okay, there's all these big canyon fingers on the backside where we think they probably worked their way to. And so we worked our way around and we hiked in to what is, and when I say backside, I'm talking like 3 miles, 4 miles to where we think they cross a mesa on top and then drop down to the backside of this canyon. So we spend a majority of the day from sun up to 2 or 3 in the afternoon working this. And we put on about 10, 11 miles that day.
So, yeah, we found some pretty cool caves back in there.
Oh, it's crazy, dude.
Which are, like, I don't know, after all, like, the mountain lion talk on the other hunt.
Oh, yeah, you're looking for them.
I'm looking for them. But there's not as many out in that area as there was back where I Oryx hunted. But in those caves, I went and checked a couple out, and you're like, hey, record this as you're going in. I'm like, oh, okay. And then as I'm getting closer, I'm like, oh, I'm recording my demise of this.
What if there's a
mountain lion
there's a
flying out of here?
Yeah.
But actually, when I got up to that cave, there's sheep beds in there.
Yep.
They tuck into these little caves, and there was like a dozen sheep beds in there.
Yeah, it's cool, dude.
And it was pretty neat. So we found a couple of those, and we were really, really waiting to see some sheep tucked into those because
Yeah.
it was getting nasty out.
Right. So we spend the whole day looking for sheep. We work back. And again, this is where I'm talking about covering country and not seeing a single one. We worked that whole canyon that day, and you think you're going to, even if you don't find your big boy, you're going to find other sheep. But we don't. We saw one stupid ewe. That many miles, one ewe. Again, you're still thinking in the back of your head, we wouldn't be walking all this right now if I would have just killed the sheep yesterday. Yeah. But at the same time, we talked about this, you enjoy the hunt so much, being out there and exploring that, you're upset you didn't get your sheep, but you're still happy you're hunting. Mm-hmm. So we worked back to the general, and we were going to go hit up this other spot, and we stopped and glassed that original mountain that we spotted them on in a day one, where we got the shot on them day two, from 2 miles and we glassed, and we're like, what the heck, there's sheep on this mountain. And we're looking, and sure enough, we see
they're one canyon over,
same mountain, and there's what appears to be a big one, and so we logically think it's probably him. So at that point, it's mid-afternoon. We only have a couple hours, but we're not going to miss this opportunity. Let's get in there. The wind was kind of dying down a little bit. It was getting sunny. So we worked all the way in there. We get to the base, and sure enough, we did spot Gimpy up in there. And so we're like, okay, dude, these are the same sheep. It was really cool having her. I hate her.
Yeah.
But
she almost busted us. Well, did bust us one time, but...
And then they almost again end of day 3.
And then our wind, when we got up in there, we had a really good wind getting up in there. Mm-hmm. We got there, and the wind was starting to die, and then it was starting to really swirl in there.
It was bad.
I thought for sure we were blowing them out of there. Yeah.
And so they were way up high on this, working the bottoms of these rim rocks. Mm-hmm. So we stayed down below, and we were just kind of slowly, and granted, there's 30 sheep. And so a lot of eyes, they're all working around, they're moving, they're rutting a little bit, and there's several rams, and there's 2 toads and 1 good one. There's 3 really good rams.
They were, and you could hear them.
They're noisy.
I was like, wow, that was really cool. And Justin's like, I've never heard them talk like that.
Yeah.
Never heard them communicate.
It was cool. So we worked out, on this base, we kept on working out little by little just to give us more of this vantage upwards. Mm-hmm. And got set up, and we were just kind of waiting for them to work out. There was one little, finger crevice in there that they were all kind of sitting in. And if you were to walk up in there just glass, you'd be like, oh, there's no sheep here. But they were all just in this low spot. Yeah. A majority. Some had fed over. Another big group of 15 had fed over in this kind of saddle. But there were still 25, 30.
You could hear them.
Yeah.
You could hear that one nosing that ewe around, and he was where you couldn't see him.
Right. And there was multiple times when I was set up there that of course, the third, the other good ram that I would be happy with any day of the week. Mm-hmm. I had so many, could have just blasted him so many times. He was just staying there perfect. And we kind of debated it, but Justin was like, dude, that big one's in here. He is in here. And I'm like, I'm fine with going home with nothing. He's a sheep worth going home with nothing over. Yep. You know what I mean? I would happily shoot this other ram that's right there.
You'd look back at me, and you're like,
I'm blast him?
I'm no, you have one on the wall like that. Just wait. Yep. Let's be patient. Let's wait.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's what it takes. That's the nice thing about hunting with somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Always. You can be kind of look at them and...
Yep. Yeah, and we were all the other sheep's totally worth waiting. We all agreed on that. Let's risk it. So we spent a lot of time hanging out. And finally, we worked again. We kind of got up, shifted out a little bit, tried getting a different vantage angle up into the mountain, and finally, some sheep worked back towards us.
Actually, this little lamb,
came
squirting around. I mean, just and you could hear him bang, 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 around this rim rack.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, there's a lamb
or a lammy lamb. Yeah,
and then you're like, oh, and there's a ram.
Yeah, I'm like, no, there's a big ram right there. And it was actually the other ram that was with the big guy that I wanted. And he was almost all... Actually, I was looking at footage, and I actually think he's slightly longer than the ram I shot, but his mass wasn't as big. Mm-hmm. But I think, lengthwise, he sweeps and he curls a little bit better than my ram. And he came out, and I actually only saw him for a split second before I saw the ram I wanted. Mm-hmm. And so, Justin was looking at the other ram, and he's like, dude, he's way off to the left. Are you looking at him? I'm like, no, dude, I don't see him. I'm not, but I wasn't looking for him. I'm looking at this ram over here. And he looks over, he's like, oh, yeah, that's the ram you want. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's the one I want. And he was with that hot ewe.
Yep.
and he started working that side hill in the shade under that rim rock, and he stopped in this big cactus patch.
Sat facing away, eating a cactus.
Just eating a cactus, just tearing away at this cactus for, I don't know, a couple minutes, several minutes, which felt like an eternity when you're on the trigger. And so I had ranged him, had my range, had my dial set up. I had so much time to set up that I was on packs, I had rear rest for the back of my gun. I am extremely angled upwards. Yep. So like I am maxed out looking up, my neck hurts, my elbows hurt. And
again, laying on the rocks.
Yep, I get multiple range confirmations from Justin, and I'm like, so he finally came out of the cactus to kind of work the side hill, and I'm like, once he stops, I'm gonna drill him. You know, like this is a perfect opportunity. Sheep do the crazy stuff. They stop and run. They whatever. We have so many up there. If they wind us, we're screwed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, once he stops, he's done. Perfect setup. Really hardly any wind. What we wanted, right? We kind of talked about those first 2 shots I had on day 2 where they weren't, you know, you're rushed, you know. So I'm like, this is awesome. This is what I want. And he stops. I am so comfortable. I am like not breathing hard. I just squeeze off the trigger. I have a really light trigger. I'm like, this sheep is so dead. And I shoot just to the left of him. I thought I shot over him, but we reviewed footage and it's like, it's just to the left, right in front of his chest. And I'm like, what in the world, you know? And like he runs over a little bit, and I pretty much have the same shot at him again. And I do the same thing just to the left of him. And so he works around kind of right back where they came from, so he's out of sight. And I kind of get up on my knees and I look at Justin. I'm like, dude, honestly, man, I'm like, I was like past the point of being mad in that moment because I was just confused. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, I'm like, I don't know what I could have did differently. I'm like, I was super comfortable, not nervous. I'm like, that's a shot I make all the time. Like, I felt good, man. Like, I squeezed that off, didn't jerk the trigger. I'm like, I don't know. Yep. I'm like confused. And so
you're talking to him, and I got the camera up.
Yeah.
And we still got the big lens on. And then all of a sudden, all the sheep appeared in the back of the crevice. I'm like, what?
Very back of the canyon, in the saddle. Yeah. And granted, when sheep get bumped or goofy, they bunch up. So most of the time, once you get your initial shot, you're not going to get if they're in a group because they just bunch up tight.
And we thought they went around the rim rock and just up and over,
but they didn't. They kind of worked straight out from us.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, whatever. I'll get on the gun one more time. And I pulled one shell out of my pocket and just threw one in, and got on. Justin gave me a range. I dialed, and I'm like, I'm not going to get a shot anyway. But I did have the 2 big sheep in the middle picked out. Mm-hmm. Like, at least I knew where they were at. Well, all of a sudden, it was like the floodgates opened. It was like the parting of the Red Sea. And, dude, it was so weird because there was like 30-some sheep in there. There had to be around 30. I need to count them up on the footage. And my big ram is dead open in the middle with no sheep around it.
It just literally went, oh.
Does not happen. That does not happen. And I'm dialed, and I pull the trigger. And boom, smoke him.
Yeah, you could hear the hit.
Yeah, and you can see him like he's like right shoulder all tucked up in, and he runs up over the rim rock, and out of sight of the saddle. And Justin's like, dude, you smoked him. Like he's hit hard. And so then we were like debating on, okay, it's almost dark. It's some rough rocky stuff up there. Like we probably shouldn't be up there in the dark.
Yeah.
And so
Jordan and I were ready to go.
I was. Probably would have done it.
Oh,
I was just so amped because I already had this history with him. I was already bummed. I had these moments. I'm like, I just want to go get my sheep. Like I want to go make sure he's dead, whatever it is, or hopefully he's dead. Maybe I lower.
We're approaching probably 14-ish miles hiking.
Oh, and
so far.
I feel 100% at that point still. I don't care.
Me too. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, and so I would have done it, but Justin's like, dude. But then after we had talked. Justin gives me a little bit more information. He goes, dude, I saw blood pouring out of his leg. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, he's like, yeah, up top, up by his shoulder. He's like, I could visually see a lot of blood. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that changes things. Like, I don't feel the need to run 900 yards, 1,000 yards up to this point, see if I can find blood, see if I can see him.
And a few hundred feet in elevation.
Yeah, and a few hundred. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I don't feel that need. So ironically, the way this canyon lied where they went over is the opposite side of where we parked to the canyon we went into for your sheep. Mm-hmm. So we walked almost 2 miles back to the general, and Actually, from where we were out there, it was less than that. From how we were kind of set up on that canyon, it was probably like a mile and a half. Get back to the general. We were just gonna go back to camp, and get up in the morning. Well, I was like, we hit that trail road where we could go into where we parked to your canyon. And I'm like, what do you think if we just drive up there, glass the backside of the canyon where we think they went? What if we do that? And Justin's like, well, it really doesn't change what we're gonna do in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It really doesn't change what we're gonna do tomorrow.
We had a little time. We had about an hour.
We still had like 45 minutes or so. And we drive like maybe another 50 yards, and Justin like breaks it, and he goes, "Nah, let's go glass up in there." I'm like, "Yeah, I think we should too." So we flip around, drive up in there. We get out, and we're glassing, and we originally spotted that first group of ewes that worked over that saddle when we were hunting the other ones. We spotted them, like, okay, cool. We work up in there a little bit more, and we glass up this one saddle, which we think is our saddle, but it's actually not. And I spot a big group, and it has Gimpy, it has the big ram, the other big ram, but my big ram's not in there. No. So we're like, okay, like this is good. Like we're feeling confident. We're feeling
somewhere
good.
In between where we lost him and where this group is.
And when we say in between, there's still a lot of country, rough country. It's not like you're just gonna hop up there and be like, oh, there he's sitting. Like it's not that easy. So, but we're sitting there watching, and then Dustin's like, dude, let's go. There's still one more finger, 500 yards, a little over a quarter mile, maybe close to a half mile, like to the right of this other finger where it's just like this country just splits off nonstop. Mm-hmm. He's like, dude, let's go glass up into the other finger just for the heck of it. We have a little time. And I'm like, okay. So you grab your spotter, I grab my 15s, and we just take 10 minutes to hike over there. You sit down, you start setting your spotter. I throw my tripod up, and literally this is like God placing my 1556s. Like literally, I place them and I look through them, and my ram is dead centered in my glass, bedded up under this nasty cliff on this rim rock, all by himself, just bedded there. And I'm like, Dustin, my ram's right there. He's right there. And you're like, what? And so I'm like, he's right in that rim rock to the right. So you set up, and you're like, oh, dude, yeah. And at that point, I'm like, dude, can I look through your spotter? And we could see blood on his chaps. We knew it was our ram. You could tell he was just not feeling good.
Then we were putting two and two together where we're actually on the backside of this canyon now, and this is right where
the saddle actually was. The other one where we saw the other sheep was actually, they just veered off and hit this other. Right. They branched off. So we were figuring out the lay of the land as well. Justin was back talking to one of his other guides who happened to meet on the road. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, 600 yards away.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you were like, dude, go get your rifle. I'm like, dude, he's 2,000 yards away. And he wasn't quite that, but he seemed like the light, we're starting to get a little light, so things feel like they're a long ways away. I'm like, I can't take a shot from this far. I had that moment of let's just leave him until morning, maybe, and he would have died. Mm-hmm. He was rough shape. But so I started going back. I'm like, Justin, we found my ram up there. He's like, what? He was like, you found your ram? I'm like, dead serious. He's like, grab your rifle. So grab my rifle, the general. We start hoofing it. You stay back on the spotter. You're filming the ram.
Yeah, I threw the phone scope up. Yeah, just making sure. And he stood up in the right position.
And that's the thing is when I was working away, you're like, dude, he just stood. And so I start my heart's going. I'm like, I gotta go get my rifle. So I'm running through the rocks all the way back to the general because I'm thinking he's gonna run because that's what sheep do.
Yeah, I thought he was going back in there, farther into that nasty little canyon back in there, but. Yeah, he literally stood up, kind of turned a circle, and he looked sick.
Yeah, and he looked down, in the footage, he looks down like he wants to go, but I think he evaluates it, and then he doesn't feel good, and he just sits back down on that little cliffy.
He sat back down, turned, and then he just kind of put his head against the rock.
Yeah, he rested his big old horn against the rock.
Yeah.
And so go back, get my rifle, and me and Justin work around the base of that mountain. Where we finally have a viewpoint, and we're at 550. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Set up on a pack. Dial up. Confirm the range one more time. Because at that point, I didn't know how rough he was feeling. I didn't see the hole where he stood up, looked down. That was your viewpoint.
Yeah, no, we were several hundred yards apart.
Yeah, we were apart.
500-600 yards apart. So
I didn't know, in my mind, I was still if I miss, he's going to get up and run away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But that probably wouldn't have happened. He was in rough shape. But I get down, we dial, and I freaking throw one through him, just drill him.
Yeah, he rolls over.
And, he tips over on the hill, and he's donezo. We are stoked, elated, all of that ride. And you feel so good. that he's down. Dream ram, like, you know. So we're pumped, you know, we get back, we're like, awesome, like.
But then we have to wait till morning to go up and get him.
Yes,
because Justin said, absolutely, we're not going up there with headlamps.
No, and it was some rough stuff. It was big rock. Yeah, you could do it,
yeah,
but it's not the safest thing in the world. So yeah, we go back to camp, eat up, get up the next morning, hike in there.
Yeah.
Had a blast. And it was so nice out. We had a beautiful morning.
It was really warm.
It got warm quick, so we kind of hustled.
Yep.
Got some good footage, got some awesome photos. Like, enjoyed the moment together.
We knew he was good when we were looking through the spotter and stuff, but when you get up there and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
He's huge.
And it was so cool because it was like legitly a team thing. Like, he's your ram too. He's Justin's ram too. Like, that's the thing is like, you think about, yeah, it's my tag, but it's like, he's not just my ram. You know, like, I don't know if I would have went over and glassed up that finger if you wouldn't have been like, dude, let's go glass up that other finger. Like, I don't even know if it would have crossed my mind.
Yeah,
you know, in my mind, I had already spotted the other big ram that my ram had already pushed off that he's not going to let that U get, and he has the hot U now. Like, in my mind, my ram's dead, we're good. But you were like, yeah, let's go glass over here. So, like, probably would have never crossed my mind. That's where, like, the teamwork of it's like, he's everybody's ram, you know? And so, yeah, we get up there, and we're like, oh, heavy, like, crazy dumb mass.
Yep.
Like, all the way out to his tips. And, like, a lot of these sheep, like, the cool thing I love about sheep is they wrap, and you get these big ones, and they really curl hard. And, like, you call them the scratchers, you know? Like, they get back, and they're touching their shoulders.
Hide, yeah.
But this ram, like, comes out, and he just stays wide, and he doesn't really curl. And that's why we weren't sure, like, from a distance when we saw him, we're like, yeah, I don't know how big he is. He's heavy. Like, we knew he was heavy, but we're like, don't know how long he is. Well, it's because he doesn't, like, sweep back. He just stays wide.
Right.
And so he looks really cool. Not really traditional in that sense. And so, yeah, it was cool, man. And to share it with, like, two of my best friends up there, share the pack out like what you did. Like, you get to split it up. Everybody gets to have a little bit of that ram on them.
Yep.
You know, and dude, it's just so much fun. Like,
no, I agree. I mean, my Oryx hunt was a blast, but doing this one with a friend, I enjoy hunting with with other people. Yeah. There's some guys that just want to be all about like the solo hunter.
Yep.
Do it on my own, too. Which to each their own, but I don't know, experiencing it, high fiving. Oh, dude, sharing each other's joy. That's
and now like you come over to my house and you see it and you're like, still like you relive it too, you know, and I don't know, that's so cool. Like, and like literally I get back, you share that story with a couple buddies, and like one of my other really good friends that we grew up together, and he's been applying a couple times in the sheet on outside the guide pool, and I'm like, no, dude, put it in. And finally this year he's gonna put in the guide pool, and I told him like he's gonna attach to my application together. So now I'm like, I hope I can experience it with another friend. Like, I hope I get to go out and see another friend of mine, like see that, like, I don't know, I've been getting so much joy out of that, like seeing one of my friends experience that and like witnessing their first time with it. Like, I got to witness your first big mule deer. Like, I got to be with you on your first sheep. Like, to me, I'm like, dude, that if I did not care if I got one past that. Yeah. It was so awesome, like being a part of that. And like, I even like remember after like we got done taking pictures and I went up to your sheep and like put my hands on his horns, and I literally said, I'm like, oh yeah, just give me a second. Like, I soaked this up with this guy. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna when next time I touch these things are, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get one. And I'm like, I kind of think of it as my sheep too. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm up there soaking up your sheep. Well, and
you look at some of those pictures and it's like, I don't know, I sent one to a buddy of mine. He's like, how come you're not smiling? I'm like, because I was still in disbelief. That's like, I could not believe, like, I'm actually putting my hands on this. Yeah. We're just taking it all in. It's like, holy cow. I couldn't believe. Yeah. You go from all this anticipation, waiting for this hunt all year long, to having it happen, and then you're just like, wow, there's the culmination of everything.
It's so cool, dude.
And it's really neat. And then another thing, going back to having the outfitter for that one, it's hands down.
For sure.
I would not do that hunt. Even now, even after doing it, I would not want to do that one without a outfitter, without a guide.
Yeah, well, especially with, like, Justin has the general that you can maneuver around in, like the the quad, whatever you want to call it. Like, that you maneuver around, and like he hauls in his camper. Like those little things are just like so much more benefit, headache stuff that you don't have to deal with.
Yeah,
and
you're dry camping, which means you don't have electricity or water.
Right.
So you have your 80 gallons on board, and you bring in all your jugs of water. You've got generators for to run for a little bit.
Yeah.
Charge everything up. But it is kind of nice, those little amenities like that.
For sure.
Otherwise, if you're trying to find a hotel...
Well, you're not staying on a hotel on this hunt. Like, you're 2 hours away from anything. Like, or more. Like, it's just... Yeah, you're not going to do it.
And if you stay in a tent, I don't know, that didn't look fun.
Yeah, you can do it, and it's like, I don't know. I totally can do it, but I had fun doing it the way we did it. I've done it that way 3 times now, and I enjoy it, man. It's a blast. It's probably one of my most addicting hunts right now. Like, I love elk hunting, but this hunt's up there with me. Like, I really enjoy this hunt.
It's a lot harder than what I was expecting.
And I try to explain that to people, too. Like, I think people think it's going to be this easy hunt, because I think you watch some stuff on YouTube or whatever, and, like, there is some easier units you can do in New Mexico. This unit's just a tougher unit. And then I think he gets confused with some of the Texas stuff in certain areas of Texas, not all. But yeah, I mean, you can have an easy odd-ad hunt, Barbary sheep hunt. You can have a tough hunt. I think the cool thing about this hunt is the challenge, the physical challenge of it, and some of the mental stuff that gets thrown at you. Like, to me, I think that's why I like it so much. Is just that attracts me. It's just different, and that's the fun part of it.
Yeah.
So
again, I mean, everything's moving under your feet.
Yeah.
All the rocks move. A lot of times you're zigzagging, 2 steps to 1 step forward, 2 steps aside to 1 step forward. The mesquite and the cactus and stuff are a lot smaller. I mean, they're a lot shorter. But then there's those stupid hypodermic cactus that hide in there.
We call them hypodermics. They're little purple guys.
Like this long, and you can't see them.
Yeah, they're almost like a lot of them are, especially in the low light. Like low light, your reflector doesn't bounce off of it, and a lot of them, they're just really skinny, so you don't really see them. They hide inside of some of the other bushes. So where you normally just like walk through those other bushes, if you're not paying attention, you catch those, and they just like straight into your leg.
You stop.
You stop.
And pull
dude.
out.
Yeah, dude. We performed surgery on each other a few different times where we had stuff in our legs or our boots, toes.
The tweezers came in handy.
Oh yeah,
pulling cactus out of your...
Dude, such a fun hunt. I hope I draw it again this year. I just love that hunt, man. I could go back. I would maybe trade off some other hunts around here if I could do that hunt every year. I'd have a wall full of sheep if I could. It's
definitely fun.
It's awesome, dude. So I'm glad everybody enjoyed the story. The footage of that sheep hunt is going to be out really soon. I'm just going to sit down on Friday, and so if you're listening to this now, you got to hear some of it preluded. Yeah. But the footage is cool too. Obviously, like you're going to see a lot of this stuff. We did kind of vlog style this, so some of the stuff isn't on film, but we got a lot of the necessities, some cool phone scope footage. It's not a Matthew Miller production by any means, but it's...
And that's probably why Jordan missed, and then I missed with his rifle, because every hunt that rifle has been on, Matthew's been on, so it was the rifle.
I blame Matthew. The rifle didn't know what to do without Matthew.
No, it was totally...
I blame Matthew.
Throwing a fit.
So funny, dude. I do. I blame Matthew. It's his fault. But... yeah, the footage of that will be also... jump to the Run2Gun YouTube channel, and you'll be able to view that. Hopefully this weekend sometime.
Full length, not cut down to 20 minutes.
Yep, it'll be, as long as the footage we have, essentially. I don't know how long they'll end up being, but I'd assume over 20. We already have a couple other of our Season 7. We're in Season 7 right now. Films up. We have Matt's antelope hunt up under the Season 7. He shoots a booner it's a great antelope. So that one's up, and then my mule deer hunt from this year's up, which is weirdly trending right now.
Yeah.
That's doing really well. So check those out. We'll have this one up. I also have my elk hunt from September with Justin. That is awesome. That's going to be coming up here soon. It will be out in March. And then me and Devin have a turkey hunt here coming up it'll be put under the Season 7 tab as well. And we're already rolling to tag season, man. I got to get my New Mexico apps in here this week. Got to get those in. I've been waiting for my credit card statement to get to the next thing so I can put it off an extra month. So I'm just waiting. I'm going to get my apps in here. And, dude, it's just like, we're rolling into that season again. Everything's done now. But now it's just kind of getting ready, deciding what you want to put in for, what you don't want to put in for, what things you want to do just for preference points. I usually put in for everything. This is the first year where I'm like, I can't put in for everything. I got to buy points just because of my schedule. Now this year, if I would happen to draw it, it would not be good. So some things I'm not putting in for, which is weird. I always tell everybody you have to put in for everything because you're not going to draw it anyway. And if you do draw it early, it's a good thing. And I still believe that. But there's a couple things going on where I can't do it. It's impossible. So I literally cannot draw it.
Yeah, no, I let Devin take my spot in the New Mexico drawing.
Exactly. And I do hope he draws that. Like I hope.
So do I.
I hope he draws that tag.
So do I.
I want him to experience it.
As much fun as I had, I definitely I would recommend that hunt to anybody.
Yeah. Yep. And then like he's pumped from the physical side of it too. He's like, yeah, I want to physically get prepared for it. Like that's the cool thing about these hunts is like you're living that hunt for more than just the 4 days, 5 days you're out hunting. Like there's all the preparation and the physical preparation. It's fun. You just feel invested with it. So glad you tuned in today. Longer form podcast, a little storytelling, some fun stuff. Please share it with a friend that you think might like it. All those little things from a small business standpoint do us a lot, and we really appreciate it. It's not overlooked on our end. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your week.